All right, North Smithfield Town Council meeting, October 7th, 2024. Madam Clerk, can you start with the prayer and the pledge, please?
Thank you for bringing us together today in a spirit of generosity. May we honor one another by keeping an open mind. May we voice our truth and listen with an open heart. May we discern your will to unite in fruitful outcome. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Beauregard?
Here.
Ms. Hamilton?
Here.
Mrs. O'Hara? Here. Mr. Osier?
Here.
Ms. Alves?
Here. Open forum pursuant to 42-46-6D, maximum of 3 minutes per person. Does anyone else want to sign up before we start? Okay. Patty McGovern. Patty, if you can just keep it to 3 minutes, please.
My husband and I live on, he's here too, we live on the lower end of Roselawn Avenue. And everyone seems to have an opinion about Halliwell. Mr. Porter would like a recreation area for all of Northern Rhode Island. Mr. Girton wants pickleball courts, even though he knows about the noise problems. And now everyone wants a multi-generation center there. None of these people live in our neighborhood. In emails at meetings, we've explained Halliwell is much closer to the lower end of Roselawn Avenue than people realize. We have an upward slope of land that creates an amphitheater effect. It amplifies noise, making it louder in our homes and yards than on the property. I once called the police around 1 a.m. about noise from Halliwell. I was inside the house, and the dispatcher said, "I can hear them through your phone." As soon as the buildings were turned down, then Halliwell became a sanctuary for animals and birds, and we retained a peaceful existence. Every proposed plan for Halliwell so far is one that will significantly alter the character of the property and, in turn, the character of our neighborhood and the surrounding area. And you will also destroy the habitat for those animals and birds. 180 days a year, closed by 3:30, 4 o'clock. That was what we had, a home on a dead-end street with very limited days and hours, no sports practices or after-school activity, recessed in a distant part of the property for short periods of time, not intrusive but a peaceful rhythm. The center isn't even built, and already we see people talking about expansion. And we know what that means, Mr. Porter's sports complex, which will make our homes unlivable and unsellable. Both Mrs. O'Hara and Mr. Osier, in the article I read, commended him for the hard work of the committee. And they have put in hard work, a lot of time and a lot of effort, but they've totally ignored the neighbors, the closest neighbors' input. At various times in various meetings, not just us, but many of our other neighbors went in, pointed out our proximity and the need for quiet activities. Pacheco already has outdoor sports. It has people coming and going day and evening for various activities. The center there would make no discernible difference in the character of the property or their surrounding area. And of course the architect wants Halliwell. They'll earn more money. Mr. Porter, in the article I read, said Halliwell would only cost $1.66 million more. Only? The town is looking at spending extra money for something we do not need. We constantly tout our small-town rural character, yet chose a Boston architecture firm that appeals to the elite. A smaller building with a more rural feeling would probably be more appropriate and might even have cost less money. Since the decisions are already made, the center will be built, but it does not belong on Halliwell property. Oh, and my husband said I should mention that we did send emails to everyone on the town council and received only 2 responses. I think you should have at least acknowledged. You didn't have to say you agreed. All you had to do was say, we got your email. Thank you.
Thank you. CJ, Leon? Yeah. All right, we're going to move up item 5A2 for grants, G&G Municipal Consulting. We have them on Zoom.
Do we have another person to talk?
No.
No? Oh, not talking? Okay. All right.
Good evening, Tara. Can you hear us? We can't hear you. Jay, can you hear us? Huh? Jay, can you hear us? We can't hear you at all.
I can hear him here, I'm just trying to get it up a little bit.
Hold on.
Try that now.
Jay, can you hear us now?
I can hear you.
Okay, now we can hear you. Thank you. Thanks for joining us tonight. We just wanted to meet with you because we haven't met in quite some time for an update on some grants and what you're looking at and what you have coming in the future. We were supposed to be meeting monthly, and that just has not happened in quite some time, so.
We can make sure that that happens. I apologize, I'm a little under the weather tonight. Tara will be doing most of the brief presentation at this point. But I was talking to Paul, and Tara and I are working on scheduling her coming up for a visit. We've got some clients in the area, and Paul I'll contact to pick a time and a date that's good. Tara will be in some towns in just north of this New York City, and then she'll be coming out to see you folks. And while Zoom is great, I'm a firm believer in having us come out to see you, so hopefully that's still okay. And Tara will be coming out to see you shortly. My goal is to do that within the next 30 days or so, if hopefully that's possible. We've had great communication with town employees. Whenever we needed something, we get it, and we're grateful for that. Tara makes it a point when grants come up to send them to the town. We are, of course, as always, share your concern about matching funds. So we make it a point to make you aware that there's matching funds if we bring things to you. We've had a couple of successes with the congressional grant and with the cops hiring grant. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tara.
So the congressional through Congressman Abel, that was approved. We're just waiting for it to get the final approval to the budget. So that was for $500,000 for the police department. And the cops hiring grant is for just under $130,000 to hire new police officers. There is a 25% match on that, but that was approved. And right now we're in the process of applying for the Litter-Free Rhode Island micro grant. That's due at the end of October, and that's for an event, a community cleanup event. And there's been conversations as well about game time. They have programs where they assist with funding for playground equipment. So we've had conversations about that as well. So that is a program where whatever piece of equipment they do choose, they have all different kinds. There is a match with that one. So that one works a little bit differently, and I have worked with them with some other municipalities, and they were really great. So that would be, I can answer any questions that you have on that, but that application we've just been talking about that one. So any questions that anybody has, please let me know.
So can you explain a little bit more about the park equipment? Is it just per piece, or how does that work? And what kind of match is it?
I didn't right here, for which one is that?
For the parks, the playground equipment.
Sure, so the way the playground application works is you choose whichever piece that you want, and say it's $75,000, they match up to 100% of whatever amount that you're putting in. So if you're putting in $75,000, then they'll put in $75,000. So whatever that amount is, typically go below that. But they have local representatives in the area that'll come out and work with you based on whatever permit you're looking to have it put in, to see which equipment is most appropriate for the area that you're looking for, and work with your budget. And they're really friendly to the communities they're looking to work with.
And you said that's due in the end of October?
No, that one is ongoing. The one that is the end of October is the litter-free Rhode Island microgram. That's a $500 grant. There's no match for that one. And that's, it's for a cleanup event. I'm not exactly sure what the event is. I was just waiting for some information to come back so I could apply for that one.
Here, I forgot a couple. We had applied for the fire department, or a FEMA assistance to firefighters grant. They were all supposed to be awarded by the end of September, but they've stopped, so there's still awards to be made, and that was for equipment for the fire department. We have no word on everything going on with FEMA. I don't know when that will be announced, but going into the future, if we don't get it, we will reapply with your permission. That's got a 5% match, which we had last year from you guys, or this year, it was earlier, so we would certainly want to reapply for that.
May I? So Jay, this is Paulette Hamilton. The FEMA grant you're referring to, equipment for fire department. Can you be more specific about that? And has that been applied for? And I know you said it's probably on hold and maybe indefinitely.
We did apply for it, and I haven't seen anything come out of FEMA in the last couple of weeks. It was supposed to be, those awards were all supposed to be done by the end of September, and they're not. They're still awarding. I can't remember what the equipment was for. I think it was a washer dryer extractor, which is used to decontaminate turnout gear. I believe that's what we applied for, which is typically a high priority for FEMA. And I want to say we asked for probably $50,000. I don't have it up in front of me, but it's approximately that. But as you're, if things are a little, I tried to get into the FEMA site earlier and it was crashing.
Yeah.
So, and I understand why.
Okay, thanks.
Does anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, I have one. This is Doug Osier. I just have a question. I'm curious as to how are you notified about what the priorities are in terms of what grants to go after, right? I mean, I know a lot of them seem to be over the months in the year they're focused on the police and the fire, which are great. But are there any other opportunities that we're being more proactive in, like looking at our budget or looking at master plans or future plans that we have and saying these grants could be applied for? Is it kind of reactionary in terms of we have to bring it to you?
It's both. When we first got hired on, we came to town, we had to sit down, and we put together internally for us, essentially, I hate to use the term wish list, but it's essentially a wish list of things that would fit for your town. And, then we have regular communication with Paul, and when we see something come up that might fit that list, we bring it to you. And also, we're working on grants for the municipalities as well, when we see something that fits for you. Tara does most of the research on that and presents it. We get a regular weekly email from the state of Rhode Island of what grants are available. A lot of them don't fit, but sometimes they look like they might, and we bring that to the town to see. But unfortunately, a lot of those, the match is large, and it doesn't necessarily fit the needs that you presented to us back when we met in person. But that's why I want to send Tara out. We're due to update that list, and I think that should be done in person. And Tara's happy to meet with anybody when she comes out, because I realize the board has priorities, and it's constituent driven. I was a county legislator, I understand that. So that's why we're going to come back out and update that list, and then make sure that we're still looking at the priorities for the town.
Thank you.
Next question.
Jay and Tara, this is John Beauregard. What do we have in the books? Like, what do we have that, since we've hired you, that, okay, we have that X amount of money in the books, and we're going forward with X amount, this grant? Like, that's what I'm curious about.
Are you talking grants that, like, the town has previously received?
No.
No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, and I don't mean to give you a hard time, but what do we have that, you know, your company said, hey, you know what, we're going to apply for this grant, bring it to our attention, and here you go, congratulations, looks like we're going to get this grant for X amount of money.
Well, that's the congressional, and that's obviously the cops hiring grant, which we brought to you. You guys had us apply for it, and you got. When we applied for more of those, like we applied to your other congressperson. No, excuse me, we applied to both your state senators, but we didn't get anything from that.
Okay.
So we made like 3 applications there. You know, one for public safety, and I believe the other was for, I can't remember, water or sewer infrastructure. I don't have it in front of me. I'm COVID fog, and I'm blanking out on it right now. But you know, there were those requests as well. I'm grateful anytime someone's going to throw me $500,000. I think that's a victory. You know, we need to dial down a little more with you guys, and once again, that's why Tara will be coming out. But you know, there are those 2 grants that are the 2 big ones, and the cops grant, the higher grants was about $125,000 to hire a new officer. So, which is that's a good grant.
Okay.
We continue to research daily. There's not a day goes by that we're not doing research on grants. We subscribe to things. And, you know, it's just if we bring you something and it's something you don't want us to apply for, we're not going to apply. And I think there's been many of those. There's been several criminal justice ones that we've, brought across to you guys that just don't fit, or some that were brought to us that don't fit for you. But this, I like the parks one here. Look, sooner or later you're going to buy parks equipment. You might as well get half of it paid for if you're going to do it. And that company's been very good at working with our clients. We don't get anything from them. They're just easy to work with. And they're funding, half the projects with good consistency.
So what's your schedule going forward once Tara comes out here? Is it going to be a monthly Zoom? How are we going to get updates again?
I'd be more than happy to go back to the monthly Zoom. There's been some confusion with how that even gets coordinated. I mean, going forward, we're more than happy to set up a link, and that seemed to work today. Give us the dates of the meetings that you want us on. And, of course, I know you guys have stringent open meetings rules and, quorum things, but we're more than happy to meet regardless of whether it's a public meeting like this. Obviously, we're going to respect, the quorum rules. But we're more than happy to set up a meeting anytime. And then, of course, I can get back, I'll coordinate with Anthony, and we'll make sure that we get the monthly meeting back up on track. More than happy to do that.
Yeah. Jay, I think that's a great idea. I think monthly we'll just tell you in our meetings, or actually, you could even do it every couple of weeks for 5 minutes, if you wanted to, and
Sure.
Just update us, because we have meetings every other week. Are you hearing it all from department heads? Like, if...
Typically that information filters through Paul to us, so I guess indirectly we are. But, I'd love to make it known to the department heads, and we said this when we met with them, and they were great. If you see something that comes across your desk, please, 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 email it, call us. Doesn't matter. We'll be more than happy to look at it, see what the match is, see if it fits, see if it works. So we'd like to put that back out there. That's another reason why I want to send Tara back out there to hammer that point home that we are available. Look, most things that come across our desk come across yours, but there may be something that doesn't from some state agency that we're not seeing. And we want to make sure we see that. And if there's help that they need with anything, we're here to help. So.
Other than the chief of police, I talk to the chief of police pretty regularly. So
He's been fantastic.
Okay, but the other department heads too, I think, like you're talking playground equipment, so that would be the Parks and Recreation Department,
Right.
and, sewer is here tonight, and there's a lot of stuff that we need in the sewer department, and water as well, so I just want to make sure we're not missing opportunities that are very important to us. We've had to go out for loans recently now, for things that maybe grants could have been identified if you had been aware of them, so just want to make sure that line of communication is very open and very clear.
Yeah, I think it helps to every now and then just remind everybody that we're here and here to help, and I think coming out will help with that, and then hearing it in this meeting, I think will. And if you want, I can coordinate with the town, and we can do Tara, if you make note of it, we'll just do a brief reach out email-wise to the department heads. Just let them know we're here, hey, we're here to help. Can't hurt.
Right.
Glad to be there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you that, if you can just send out an email in the morning to all the department heads and just how they can get in touch with you, and that they're welcome to reach out to you for any, ideas or any grants that they may see, just so we can open those lines of communication again, because once they go away, you know, it's kind of a done deal, no one's gonna do it. So if you can just kind of get that rejuvenated again, and that would be great.
Be glad to.
Okay,
Not a problem.
thank you. So, and do you have dates when Tara's coming out, or not yet?
That's something we're gonna talk to Paul about. I'd like to do it within the next 30 days. I'm gonna tease Tara a little bit here. She lives in a warm climate, so I try not to bring her up where it's cold too often, but she's tough and can take it. So my thought is to do it within the next month or so. And we'd actually talked about doing it a couple weeks ago, but logistically it just didn't work for us. So we're gonna try within the next 30 days or so.
Well, we have an election on the 5th, so you may not see everyone that you see here tonight.
Oh,
So if it could be sooner, that would be great, because we've been very instrumental in trying to make this work, so.
no, you guys have
just
been
a thought.
fantastic, and I appreciate that. I know the hard work that it is for you. You know, your constituents, they see you in the grocery store, in the bank, they're all over you, they want to know what's going on. I get it, I was there. You know, and don't do it for the $1 million salary, I know that. So we appreciate the outreach, and we'll continue to do what we can to keep pushing along. We'll get that message out to all the department heads, and we'll square away a date for Tara to come out for a day or so, a couple days.
Yeah, so if we could try and get that done by October, that would be great.
All right, we'll try to do that.
Thank you.
Hey, Jay, it's Paul. I want to thank you for coming out of sick bay today. And
Yeah, I appreciate
you're
it.
looking a little peaked, but thank you for coming out. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this is like 2020 COVID. I forgot how much this is not fun. But, you know, it's definitely not. But I'm good. I appreciate it and all that you do and keeping the lines open, Paul. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you. Anyone have any other questions for me? All right, we're good. Thank you.
Get better.
We're all set. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to end it.
Discussion by council vote or other action on payment of bills. Does anyone have any questions on the payment of bills in their packet?
I do. I can't
Go ahead.
find it. I just had a quick one, Anthony, and of course, I can't find it right away.
Yeah, I
it
need,
was-
I need 1 second,
Oh,
too.
here it is. Here it is, here it is. How's that?
1 second. You guys got to it faster than I thought you would.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, go ahead.
So it's just the page 1 under the Town of North Smithfield detail expenditure report.
Okay. give me a
Under
second.
the first grouping of town council, it looks like the available balance is a minus
Yeah,
12,000?
That's just because the budgeting software didn't take the budgeting software that we use, Vision, or not Vision, eFinance didn't take that. I already fixed that. It's not negative
Okay, so
anymore.
that's
Yeah,
not-
that was
it's
just
not
a-
in the negative?
Yeah, that was just an implementation error.
Okay.
Yeah, I
all right,
fixed that.
great. Okay, thanks. That's all I had. Thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions? Anyone like to make a motion to approve the payment of bills?
I'll make a motion to approve the payment of bills in the amount of $1,312.39.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Discussion by council vote or other action on status/progress report on specific items. The first one is facility manager, Mr. Ogier.
So I did reach out to the school department, to the superintendent, and I don't know if that's going to go anywhere at this time. So I will figure out another path to update the council on next meeting.
Thank you. Human resource position, is there any update?
We, in a second round of applications, we had 3 individuals that had the skill sets required. All 3 of them did not respond to an email or to 2 phone calls that were placed to them asking them to schedule an interview. So it's the second time this has happened, so it doesn't appear that there's a lot of interest in this part-time HR position. But we'll keep trying.
Where is it posted?
Tony? Posted on that, linked onto the website?
Yeah, I posted on Indeed. I think next, I had gotten some suggestions to look on LinkedIn. We don't, the town doesn't have a page or anything like that, so I'd have to discover, look into that a little bit more before we dive into that. But yeah, it seems that Indeed hasn't been very fruitful with all of the applications that we've received and the candidates who we reached out to so far. So
When was the last time it was posted?
it was
Really last, week before last.
it was posted. Yeah, I want to say it was posted about 3 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago. And it was posted originally, and then once we went through that first round of applicants, we wanted to get more of a pool of applicants. Went through it again, just like he had said. We had the 3, no one got back to us. So we're going to look into different avenues of posting now.
Is it on the website?
Yeah, it should be on the website. Yeah,
Are
and
you
I'm,
sure- are
I'm
you
pretty
sure
sure I
it
put it
is?
on the North Smithfield, or not North Smithfield, League of Cities and Towns too. I had notified them as well. So
Are you sure it's on the website, or are you not sure?
I gave it to Brienne to post it, and
I think it was.
last time I checked, I could look right now if we wanted to.
Yeah, could you please?
Yeah.
Municipal Building Review Task Force, just an update, so we have a meeting scheduled on October 15th with Mr. Ami. He's going to come in person. So is that agenda already posted?
7 PM.
Okay. So that agenda's posted at 7 PM.
Okay.
All right, next one is public hearing on federal grant monies to be spent on a multi-generational center, location Halliwell or Scouters, and it's going to be the continuation of the public hearing. We have to reopen it, right?
Should we open it?
Would someone like to make a motion to reopen that public hearing?
I'll make a motion to reopen the public hearing on federal grant monies to be spent on a multi-generational center.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. And anyone who does get up to speak, we will be setting a timer just because we don't know how long it will be taking. So it will be 3 minutes per person, and we will have to stop you at that time, okay? Anyone like to get up? Josh? If you could just make sure you name and address, please.
Josh Sylvia, 24 Rainbow Lane. Somehow along the way, it's become an us versus them with committees, the multi-generational versus the Halliwell committee. It's not that. Shouldn't be that. From talking with people on both committees, it's not that, but it's being perceived as that. At the end of the day, we both want this building built to improve this town and make it great. I've heard negative comments towards members of both committees. It's unnecessary, obviously. It's not mine. You know, at the end of the day, we want this building built. Let's, you have your information, make your decision. I don't care where you put it. Let's just build this building. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? 3 minutes, please.
Robert Najarian, 511 Buxton Street. I'm a member of the Halliwell Committee and also chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals Review. With all this contention and all of this infighting, it seems that I think it dawned on me that maybe we should just get perspective of what happened and how it happened, to give members the clarity that I hope you'll use when you're taking the next vote to choose the path. We know that the Halliwell Committee has been working for 2+ years. We have done exactly what was charged of us. We have asked the people what they wanted, how they wanted it, and where they wanted it. We then responded to councils and gave you that report. You endorsed everything we did, all along knowing that the intent was the summation of what the people said. Outdoor activities and a multi-use facility, call it intergenerational, multi-generational, was multi-use.
I'll take those.
We then came to you, and each time it was endorsed. And at no point was it ever a question of where, it was just a question of when and how much. What could we afford, and in what progress would we make whatever we were going to build? You then even went as far as to authorize the expenditure of hundreds of thousands of dollars to prepare a master plan, which we did, to your overwhelming support and approval. These are all positive things, they're not negative things. But it sheds light on the reality. We have spent a tremendous amount of money with a vision to upgrade a specific address that the town thought was beneficial to the rest of the residents. We're there, and then something changes. We get the benefit of a $4 million grant. So now we seem to be awash with money. And initially, if I'm not mistaken, the chair is here, the council voted unanimously to send that money to be used at Halliwell. And then whatever happened, happened, and the money went back. Just like a volley for serve over the net. And we are still working, still doing what you asked us to do, but we're feeling like we're the ball being pushed over the net. Sometimes we're in favor, sometimes we're inbound, sometimes we're out of bounds. Then you look at the truth or the reality and the decisions that you have to make. You asked the very same architectural firm to give you analysis, very same firm that developed the master plan. And to their credit, they did their job, they're professionals, and they said the best choice is to tear a viable, useful building down to spend money to build a new one. So it begs the question, is that really beneficial? Is it politically expedient? Is it fiscally expedient to tear down, demolish an asset that we have that is usable and functional to build something else?
Mr.
And so it
Jaya?
begs the question, I think.
We're just out of time.
I'll wrap in 1 second. It begs the question, what is the best decision to make, both politically and fiscally? What is forward thinking and what is politically expedient? And I think if you look at it in that perspective, yes, of course, I'm in favor of Halliwell. I've worked almost 3 years with committee members, but it's because it's the right thing to do. Best of luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? There's more chairs
There's
up
chairs
in
that are
front
free.
here.
Can we move in or move out or take things off other chairs so other folks can sit down? There's 2 chairs over here. We don't bite. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Jean Mayo, 11 Tall Timber Trail, and a member of a very active scouting family when my children were younger. I am not against a multi-generational center in North Smithfield. I'm of the demographic that would enjoy the senior center. But I also have a vested interest and many years devoted to the scouting program in this town. Cub Scout den mother, Boy Scout committee chairperson. My husband was Cub master, then Scout master. We have 2 sons and 1 grandson who are Eagle Scouts. My past involvement is why I am here, and I want to share some history about Scouters Hall before you make a decision, and I'm going to talk very fast. The land, 3/4 of an acre, was donated by the Kendall family. Scouts met in an original structure the size of a storage shed on the property, and the shed burned to the ground in 1960. And thereafter, Boy Scouts from Slatersville Congregational Church and St. John's Roman Catholic Church met separately in their own churches until 2 men, best friends, one from each church, decided that there was no reason that the Scouts should not meet together and there was no need to be separated by religion. And Scouters Hall was envisioned and built in 1973. The names of the benefactors who funded that building were well known in the community at the time. They were the movers and shakers of that era, And the honor plaque in Scouters Hall has almost 200 names on it, 200 individuals and families who supported and funded the idea. 84 Eagle Scouts, including 3 females, have graduated from that building to go out and make a difference in the world because of the skills and values that the Scouting program provides. Obviously, the building was not responsible for those accomplishments. But Scouters Hall is more than just a building. It is a symbol of what hardworking and dedicated individuals contributed to this town to support their sons at the outset, to bring unity to the youth of this community, and to foster the ideals of the Scouting program. Part of the history of North Smithfield is exemplified in that building. It was expanded in the late 90s with 2 $30,000 grants, both from the Levi and Champlain Foundations, and a $10,000 grant from then-Senator Paul Kelly. The intent of those grants was to fund additional space in a permanent building for the Scouts. Those same 200 families would be the first to support a multi-generational center, but not in their building. There are too many reasons why it does not make sense. And trying to spend $4 million within a specified period of time before a deadline is not a good reason to tear down that building, especially when there are other potential options. I admire and appreciate the time and the effort and the passion of Linda and her committee. It's been a lot of work, I know, but there has to be an alternative solution that better meets the needs of our community. Do I have 20 seconds more? Okay. Recently, there was an article and a picture in the Valley Breeze of Linda standing in front of the building. It's a wonderful picture, but what my eyes focused on was the sign above her head, Scouters Hall, and that is what it should continue to be. The history and the intended purpose of the building needs to be remembered and respected. But as an aside, respecting that building means spending some money to clear up some of the deficiencies that are stated at the last hearing. So maybe it's time to look to add that building to the wish list for grants. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
And sorry, it was such a rush.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Jeff, 3 minutes, please.
Sure. This will be quick. Tonight before you is a historic decision.
Please name and address,
Oh.
please.
You don't know by now?
We do, yeah, we do, but everyone else.
Jeff Porter, 6 Country Way, Chairman of the Halliwell Review Committee. Tonight, before this council, is a historic decision that will have an effect on the town for years to come. You have been presented with a wide variety of thoughts and opinions, as well as a series of plans, studies, and costs. I've spoken at a number of these meetings and have only this to add. I want to bring to your attention 3 key dates from this council. September 7th of 2023, this council voted all in favor to, and I quote, officially approve the Halliwell property as the location for the multi-generational facility site. On January 25th of this year, you voted to accept our master plan. And on March 15th, you passed a resolution in support of the master plan. You have a series of questions and considerations that were posed by the Halliwell Review Committee in your deliberations this evening. But the most important that should openly be answered tonight between the 5 of you is which site would better serve this town. It is BH plus A, in my opinion as architects, it's the Halliwell site. I'm here to answer any further questions while you guys deliberate, but this historic decision now rests solely with the 5 of you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next question, Jeff?
Yeah.
I don't know how the vote's gonna go, I'm just
I
asking.
don't either.
So if they choose to vote to have the multi-generational facility at Pacheco, at Scouters, does that diminish your role, though, as a Halliwell committee, when there's so much to do over there, as far as creating an opportunity for outdoor recreation, outdoor space, different things? We have $1 million grant down there. Does it still give you guys, the Halliwell committee, doesn't it still give you, the Halliwell committee, an important responsibility as far as that property?
It does. But as I spoke at the last meeting, You know, I look at this as efficiencies. If we're doing 2 projects at the same time, we're paying for 2 architects, paying for 2 contractors, paying for 2 engineering firms, we have 2 committees, so you're doubling your costs now because we have to work with a bunch of different engineering companies now. So it doesn't diminish our role. It wouldn't diminish the multi-generational advisory committee's role for Scouters, but I would think that we'd want to make sure that we're not stepping on toes and, you know, collaborating together and working together to achieve something that's truly needed in this town.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? Linda? Linda, 3 minutes.
I know, Linda Tebow, 83 St. Paul Street, North Smithfield, Chairman of the Multi-Generation Committee. I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention, that in February 2023, the Town Council developed the Multi-Generation Advisory Committee and assigned the following duties: review and identify the existing activities, services, and programs at Scouters. Review and identify the activities, programs, services, and facility needs of town residents. Review information provided by any consultant retained by the Town Council. Conduct public hearings and accept public comment regarding the activity, program, and facility of needs of all town residents, and make recommendations to the Council regarding construction, design, and floor plan to ensure that the Multi-Generation Community Center will serve the activity, program, and facility needs of town residents. The Multi-Generation Committee has completed each of the assigned tasks, and at its meeting on August 14th, 2024, voted to endorse option 4 as contained in the site assessment and feasibility analysis to convert Scouters into a multi-gen community center. Bogman, Hendrick, and BH&A Inc. on July 2024, revision to be located at Pacheco Park, option 4, consisting of the raising the existing Scouters building and replacing it with a newly constructed 5,200 facility at an estimated cost of $4,269,000. In arriving at this conclusion, the committee first commissioned the expertise of a certified wetlands biologist who performed a wetlands analysis of the site. NRS Inc. concluded the project was feasible without requiring any waivers from Rhode Island DEM, as long as construction did not encroach beyond the northwesterly rear wall of the existing structure. The committee then engaged the service of BH&A architects who performed a thorough assessment of the building and site. In working with BH&A, the committee was mindful of the wants, needs, and desires of the Scouts and the seniors, while also being cognizant of the $4 million grant budget. BH&A provided several scenarios ranging from a functional upgrade of the existing building, retaining the existing footprint for a total cost of $2,170,000, to a substantial 3,200 square foot addition to the existing facility to create a 6,600 square foot building at a cost of $5,978,000. As previously stated, the committee was cognizant of the needs of the community and the available funding and chose the most cost-effective alternative, a new 5,200 square foot multi-generation community center, an estimated cost of $4,269,000. And that was the job that the council gave us to do, and we did it. We wanted to thank the council for allowing us the honor and the resources to participate in this worthwhile project. The committee took its responsibilities very seriously and believes it is recommending the most feasible, cost-effective. Am I done?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Anybody else? Anyone else like to get up and speak? Anyone? Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara? Mr. Osier?
Yes.
Ms. Alves?
Yes. Discussion by council vote or other action on Halliwell Review Committee. 1, location of multi-generational center, Halliwell or Scouters. 2, federal grant location and direction of council to Halliwell Review Committee and Multi-Generational Advisory Committee. Is there any discussion amongst the council for location of multi-generational center? Does anyone have any other questions or comments?
I'm just going to say, to address the comment earlier, I think you bring up a valid concern about noise. Regardless of what goes down in that area, it could be basketball courts, right? Addressing any individual project. I would think proper noise buffering should be considered. The police and the security down there as well. People at 1 a.m., there shouldn't be any reason for noise complaints at 1 a.m. I think there's things that we need to do down there to ensure that your well-being and quality of life is being protected, and not just you having to worry about, am I getting peace of mind or whatever. But speaking to this project, I think there's a few things that I've heard, and maybe I'm missing something, and I would really like somebody to explain to me why Scouters makes the most sense. Because the last meeting we heard from the architect, they preferred Halliwell. We've heard from multiple people that have worked on the building in the past. Halliwell makes the most sense for the future expansion of what you could do down there. Doesn't mean we need to put fields down there. It doesn't mean we need to do all that stuff, but just from the building itself. I think in looking at it, I think we're running against a situation here where we need to do something with the grant. But, I think maybe I'm missing it, but, I would think that there's a lot of evidence as to why Halliwell makes the most sense. I view this as it's kind of a win-win situation if you put it at Halliwell. We decided last year as a council to move forward with Halliwell. We accepted the master plan, which cost well over $100,000+. We've been pretty committed at putting it there. And, I think Mr. Porter raised a valid point. If we had just kept on that timeline, we'd be talking about actually putting a shovel in the ground within the next month or two. They have the same construction timelines. They're going to run into similar construction schedules. We would already be a step closer to building something. I think the one thing I've heard from everybody is they want something done. And if we continue to take inaction, we might as well just return the grant and say, we can't make up our mind, thank you, but no thank you. Because I think it's getting a little ridiculous at this point. I think we need to make a decision, wherever that is, and it needs to be there. But to put it at Halliwell would allow a senior multi-generational center. We still need to fix Halliwell. Scouters, I don't disagree with that. And it would still allow future opportunity for expansion if and when it makes sense down at that site. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think one of the things we failed to realize is that we won't get that grant until we determine a location and a budget.
Which we did last January.
Right, but we haven't submitted that because then there was a back and forth, as you said, of, the volleying of the decision to go from one location to another. So we're not closer to getting it. And even if it has an expiration date of, I think 31 is what we had talked about, without making a decision soon, we're actually eroding the value of that $4 million, in my opinion. Had we done it a year ago, it would have been worth $4 million. Now it's probably worth $3 million, whatever inflation is and how it affects it, and costs associated for construction and everything, affiliated with that. So I agree with you on the issue of ensuring that we provide some security for the individuals who have lived around that property for a long time. I don't think it would be fair of us. We have every project that we've even undertaken since I'm on the council, whether it's even a solar farm, right? We provide for buffers, right? That's always part of it, because I think we're cognizant of the fact that people need to have peace and quiet. That's why they moved here, and I don't know that Halliwell will be a vacant lot forever. I don't think that was the intent. I think we had even walking trails, as you had mentioned, Mr. Beauregard, would bring people there. I think we're going to bring people to that area. So I don't know how everybody else feels, but I think we should take a vote and make a decision. It's gonna be hard no matter what, and we're not gonna please everybody, but I think we probably have 12 months before we go out to bid and get all the engineering done. If we make a decision tonight, we're not even gonna see it. You know, well, I'm not, maybe you will, but I'm not, as a counselor. So I think postponing decisions is inefficient at this point. I think we have our information.
I'd like to end this with one other comment. I see the new, and as I called us, the oldies but goodies. They worked very hard on this, and they're viewing things. We can't keep everything as it was. Halliwell, all during the years, I don't know when you moved in, or after that school was built, that auditorium was used every night until around 10 o'clock, around supper time. Plenty of cars, kids running around the entire perimeter of the land, and head of athletics would be up there to monitor, and that went on 5 or 6 nights a week. And at one time, scouts met there also, and the Girl Scouts, and it was well used. But as time went on, a lot of people who built in that area cut trees in that area also. What do trees do? Buffer sound. That house was busy for them. Well, good, but still, the trees were cut down. For what reason, I don't know. If we could keep everything, love it, because they're 2 dedicated people. The thing with Halliwell, you want to preserve the old. Well, Scouters Hall was built by family, grandchildren, down the line took an interest, and they were very generous with the town. And then once we have Halliwell, what Scouters Hall in that area doesn't have, expansion for growth. It doesn't. And it kills me because there's no one I respect more than Mrs. Tebow. Seen this kid since he has this mad walk when things were disturbed, because he went to Halliwell. And you remember these things. But we have to move on. We have to move on. We can't keep Halliwell the way it was. You don't see skinny dipping next to the reservoir anymore, and there was a lot of that, trust me. You were safe at night. You sat on the wall in front of the old town hall. You went in the woods, and let me tell you, let's be real, everybody would buy back then too, and then make their way home. But things change. It breaks my heart that our children haven't lived in the North Smithfield that we knew. And if vote goes one way, I hope you know it's not out of disrespect for you and about all your hard work. But sometimes you have to look at the big picture. And both committees, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
May I ask a question for clarification? Jeff, why are we getting, maybe I'm wrong, so correct me if I am, but why are we getting a number of $4,200,000 for to build this at Pacheco at Scouters, but a larger number to build it down at Halliwell?
Site work is the biggest
Can you, Jeff,
Yeah,
can you?
see, that's an important clarification.
Also,
Well,
just
it's a
before
bigger
Mr.
building,
Porter speaks,
right?
though, it's a bigger building,
Right.
and that was to accommodate what they thought, what BH&A thought was
62.
the best footprint for what was asked,
Okay.
because they met with the seniors and other
Right.
departments and committees in town and put all those together. But they also presented an option to the Halliwell Committee and to this council where they could build it for $4 million.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So-
That's right.
So that's what I want to hear.
There's a couple,
Okay.
as Councilor Osier has said. From my understanding, the site work at Pacheco, widening the entrance, that plot of land that was bought previously, was not factored into the cost at Scouters, so that's a missing cost from that estimate. But then there's also additional site work that's over at Halliwell. And yes, we have recommended a larger building, but that's based off the recommendation because of BH&A's expertise in community centers and senior centers that said to truly have a successful community center for a town of this population and size, that this would be the recommended building. There are ways for us to almost make a phase 1A and 1B with add alternates during the construction document period, where we can work with the council and the administration to identify those, to stay within parameters if that's so chooses to be the path that the council would like us to move forward with. But there is that opportunity to say, have basically what's a base bid, so part of a building, and an add alternate, which you add on to the building. So I've done it in numerous ways through public bidding processes that allows us to do that. So we do have that option to pare back things as well.
So if we were gonna build a building at Pacheco,
Mm-hmm.
can we pick up that building and put that same building at Halliwell?
Mm-hmm.
And if so,
Yep.
now compare apples to apples about pricing.
And then the site work will be the only difference.
Okay.
So Jeff, I have a question. You keep talking about how we approved doing the site plan and, I mean, the comp plan or the master plan.
Master plan.
Right? And that we did that in order to do things. But I can remember numerous meetings we said, yes, we were gonna approve this, but it was also, it was for future use, for like 20 years from now, like something wasn't
Yep.
gonna be built tomorrow, right?
Correct.
And there was plenty of meetings where we said, okay, we need this for future. It doesn't mean we have to build something in the next year or two. And then even when you asked for the committee to stay together, we're like, okay, now, just so you know, we're not gonna be building something in the next couple of years. And you guys agreed, right? We talked about open space, we talked about walking trails, we talked about cross-country, so we could do cross-country meets. Like, we talked about a lot of different things that we could do there. And then, because originally, it was like full speed with going to Pacheco for the multi-generational. Then somehow it got off track that, then it started going in another direction, that, there was energy out there to go to Halliwell. So then that was presented to the council, and there was a lot of people behind it. I don't know about everyone else, but I was getting phone calls from seniors saying, change it to Halliwell, it should be at Halliwell, right? So there was some energy pushing it there. So I think that's when the council probably moved it, because everyone was behind it, and now it's reverting back, because from what we see from this last presentation from the BH&A is that Scouters was a good option, because we didn't think we could do it because of wetlands and the layout. So now we find out that we can, and, a little bit save some financial, we're being a little bit more responsible there. But for them to get up there, for this architect to get up there and say that he's telling us which one he recommends, I don't think that was probably like the best thing for him to do, because he's bidding against himself, right? Like, he's doing both projects and he's saying which one he prefers. He should have left that to the community to make that determination.
So
No?
let me go back to the phasing. When we talked phasing, we had phase 1, 2, and 3. Phase 1 was the first part of the building, which is that 6,600 square foot building. We had envisioned that would be a support, not only a building for the multi-generational facility, but also support space for all of the outdoor activities that we have been talking about. Because I know it's been always a hot topic in this town. We have outdoor facilities, but we have no building facilities to service them. Option 2 and 3 were the gymnasium and a pool. Those were the things that we were talking are 5, 10, 15 years down the line. So probably on us for miscommunicating that, but it has always been our intention that some sort of building gets built fairly soon, because we wanted to get the energy down there. We wanted to get the excitement to be down there. As far as BH plus A bidding against themselves, I'm going to take a little bit of an exception with that because I'm an architect. I do this for my livelihood. As a architect that works on public bid projects, it's going to sound cliche, but we typically don't do it for the money because the money's not there all the time. Okay? The state of Massachusetts gives us percentages to work within that says you cannot build more than, depending on the size of the project, anywhere from 7 to 14% of the construction cost of the building. We're limited by that. Rhode Island is a little bit different, but the general rule of thumb is still followed to be the same. You know, the thing about this project is it will work at either site. Yes, that's totally true. We'll work at either site. However, we want to be also forward-thinking. At Scouters, when you do something down there, that's it. I'm sorry, that's it. You've maxed out. You can't, if you build up, you have to build more parking. The more occupancy that you add to that building, there's more parking. That means there's less fields, there's less volleyball court, there's less basketball court, there's less playground. Pacheco Park is listed as open space. We can't build on that. We can put parking lots on it, but we can't add any more buildings to it. That is where Scouters Hall falls short. If we were to build something at Halliwell, say the library decides that, you know what, we're too big, we need more room to expand, we still have room down there to expand. I don't know if you remember, quite a few meetings ago, we put up a plan of the property that showed the footprint of the building, the site plan, the footprint of the police station, North Smithfield Elementary School, the library, and the middle school, all of which could fit within the buildable area that we have over at Halliwell. So I'm not looking at this as of right now. Well, I am looking at it as of right now, but I'm also looking at it what's the best for the future of this town. I've been here for 40 years. I've seen a lot, more than I'd like to admit. I bet my family has been here for 6 generations, starting now going with my son. When I'm looking at making recommendations with the Halliwell Review Committee, I'm not looking at it just in mind for the seniors. I'm also looking at it in mind of the families, the kids, and every other person that's in this community so that they have access to something that we don't have right now. And if we build over at Scouters, that's serving 2 groups. It's not serving the entire community. While yes, it might be utilized more than more by one demographic or another, it's still going to be open to everybody. And I want to make that point clear that because North Smithfield is one of the 3 of the 39 cities and towns in Rhode Island that does not have an active community center, we need to have something that we can have an asset for. We need an amenity. I can't start a men's basketball group, so I'm going to use that as an example, for 15, 20 years down the road, whenever gymnasiums decide to be built. But I can't go through and just call up Parks and Rec and say, I'd like to set up a men's basketball group, so we want to meet on Monday nights. Got to go through the school, got to go through their scheduling, got to go through all of this process that a lot of other people are going through right now with the track, with the football field, with the baseball fields. The Little League group can't use the baseball field up at the high school. They can't use the softball field up at the high school. So what we're proposing is something that's accessible to everybody. And I don't think you're going to get that at Scouters. So I hope I've answered all of your questions, but
Well, not yet.
okay.
I have 2 more.
Okay. All right.
What is the time, would the timeline be the same, regardless of how the vote goes? Would the timeline be the same for the buildings, for the project, regardless of where we put it right now?
I believe yes. However, the contract that this town has with BH+A is for the Halliwell property. So we would have to go out through the RFQ process to ascertain architectural services for Scouters, which took the Halliwell Review Committee 2 to 4 extra months because we only got one bid the first go-around, and we wanted to make sure we had competitive qualified firms, so we went out twice. So if you remember, we went out in the beginning of October, or maybe the beginning of September last year, and we finally had landed, no, well, that is now 2 years ago, sorry. And then we landed on BH+A.
And would there be an would there be, you guys be counterfeiting each other as far as having the multi-gen committee and the Halliwell committee working? If it was at Halliwell, wouldn't you guys kind of just be bumping heads, or would it be better to form just one committee to work on the project?
We have had 2 open seats on our committee for the longest time, I think for the past year now. And I would be more than honored to have members of that committee come and join. If it was the council's prerogative to merge the 2 groups, I'm totally fine. I have no issue with that. That's going to be up to you, though, how that plays out, depending on how everything else goes. So if you wanted to dissolve both committees and reformulate a new committee, that's your prerogative. But I'm not going to recommend one way or the other, because that's ultimately up to the 5 of you.
So the amount of site work that has to be done at Halliwell, in order to have a building there to house this, was it 62?
66.
66. Does the whole land need to be worked, or is it just that area with the parking lot? Like,
No, it would just be the existing drive in the area of the where the basketball courts are now and adjacent to that area. The rest of the land can be left as is. It would just need to be set up for the footprint of the multi-generational building that we've proposed. So honestly, the way it stands right now, if you were to go down there today, where the building approximately sits is where that traffic circle is. So that would be the extent of the site work. You wouldn't have to go back past the stone wall that used to be the administration building, and when I was there, the art building. Those 10 buildings that were beyond, that can just be left as is.
Okay, and I think the other thing we have to remember is that we need to get some kind of operating budget for both, right? Because we still don't know what the costs associated with operating either one of those are. And I think that's important to let people know, because, you know, if someone were to say to me, you know, it's going to cost you an extra $25 a year on your taxes for the Halliwell site, and it'll cost you an extra $20 a year for the Scouters Hall site, right? At least I would know what the impact is, which we have not had any opportunity to determine that cost, what that is going to be impacting forever on taxpayers, right? So that's something I think we need to have information on as well. I think people need to know what it is we're voting for, and we're fiduciaries of their money, you know? So it's important for me as a counselor to take it seriously when I say one or the other. I want to feel comfortable with the tax implications and the long-term operating cost implications, because those, you know, can add up very quickly, and we don't have that information.
You know what, I agree, but this is this should be the end of the line right here. We have been kicking the can, and now this is probably one of the toughest votes that I've had, but it's time to make the vote and not wait for more information. Let's make the vote. Let's call the vote.
yeah, but you're also talking about 2 different types of buildings too, because like we're talking about at Halliwell, it's going to be a community center, right? So that does have to be staffed. Where at Scouters, Pacheco, it's basically multi-generational is considered as seniors and scouts. So that isn't really gonna have to be manned 24 hours a day or 7 days a week, or it's basically the seniors are gonna go for activities. You know, maybe, I don't know what kind of staffing Linda had intended on having for the seniors, but the scouts obviously will be there for their functions and, you know, your groups and your dinners and stuff. So it's really not a staffing model so it's really totally two different concepts. One is just maintenance and utilities, where another one is staffing and, you know, it's totally different.
But
I think that's a great point.
Yeah, but I think if we sold the community on a true multi-generational community center, and now we're just saying it's scouts and seniors, I think people are gonna feel a little deceived on that one, because, and I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, but, you know, I think a lot of the community was looking forward to an opportunity where there was a place for all generations to kind of utilize and leverage. And if they can't, I'm sure we're gonna hear frustration as to why can't I have access to a building? And, you know, I just like you, Paula, I take these decisions very seriously, and I do believe we have a fiduciary duty. But every day that we delay, we're wasting money. So, you know, eventually that $4 million is only gonna get you maybe 100 square feet if you wait until 2031. That's an extreme example, but, you know, I don't want this to become a project where 6 years, 7 years from now, we're just starting to get going on it. And maybe we don't even have the money by then. So I just think that, to John's point, we need to make a decision wherever it lands, and we need to, you know, get going on it.
Well, I think tonight will be a decision on landing, but I think it's really important. I think no matter which building we choose, there will be staffing issues, right? You're gonna have to have some people there. You have to open it up, you have to close it, you have to clean it, you have to do that. So I think, you know, we have to take that into consideration and let people know what those costs associated with either one of these buildings will be to them. And that comes next. It doesn't come right now.
Yeah, this is a
Right?
multiple
Yeah.
Well,
phase
every
approach.
gift comes with a price. Like, if you look at Bryan College, Fidelity gave them a big building, but they spent millions of dollars making paths and walkways and making the road safer. So
Beautiful.
that gift came with a price, and so this $4 million gift will also come with a price.
Agreed.
Anyone wanna make a motion?
So I guess I just have a question. So and maybe this is David can help us. So if the council already voted to move the grant monies to Halliwell, then if the council makes no motion, or does it need to make a new motion to confirm that the money stays at Halliwell?
I didn't review the motion, but if
There hasn't been one yet. I'm just curious procedurally, because last year we voted to move the grant to Halliwell. And now if we make a motion, what would the motion be? To leave it at Halliwell or to move it to Scouters?
I guess it would be to move it to Scouters.
Mr. Igliosi, could the vote go, you just announce, you call, like, call me Halliwell or Pacheco? Halliwell or Pacheco, and we'll go right down the line that way, and whoever, they call it that way.
You could do that, but that's more like an election instead of a vote. I think a vote should be a positive or affirmative on a choice. If the choice fails, then you take the next choice.
Administrator, do you have any comments before we make a decision? Do you have any recommendations or thoughts? We haven't included you enough in this discussion.
They're making recommendations for the past year and a half. You have two viable locations.
Right.
You have $4 million, which is slowly being eroded by inflation. Don't forget you have to pay prevailing wages, Davis Baking Act, that's a third. You also have another grant for $1 million, which has been ID'd for Halliwell. So you're sitting at $5 million for Halliwell. You're sitting at $4 million for Scouters Hall. Now, we can apply to HUD and ask them if they would take that $1 million and apply, because there is room for trails and passive recreation at Pacheco Park. So the decision lies with the five of you. But I would like to say, put a date on this. Why wait till 2031? Why not December
Right.
why not December 2026? Adequate time to do any more initial architectural work. They'll tell you how much it's going to cost. So give yourself a date and say by December 2026, location A or location B.
I don't
Thank
follow.
you.
Do you follow?
No.
I don't follow you.
You don't follow?
No.
What?
What do you mean, give us a date, December?
Well, the expiration date on the Congressman Cicilline grant, the $4 million, I believe, goes out to 2030. That's a long time off. I think it's time to stoke the fire and give, this is what we want to have. We want a community center, or just call it a center, by December 2026.
I know what he's saying. He's saying put a timeline so that it doesn't just get caught up in limbo.
Pretty obvious what I said.
Yeah.
No, I'm just not getting it, that's all.
I think he's just trying to say, like, pick a date to when I think construction would start, so you're working towards that date, not
Okay.
2030 or 2031, and then you get caught.
Yeah.
Is that correct, essentially?
Okay.
Well, I have received a lot of calls on this, more so than even the police station.
Yeah.
And the calls that I've gotten from the seniors was, they were expressing to me that they wanted to stay at where they were, at Pacheco.
See, I've heard the opposite.
Have you really?
Mm-hmm. Also from a lot of younger families that
Oh,
wanted
yeah,
at
yeah.
Halliwell. I think when we're looking at it, I think we need to look at the future here. You know, I think there is money out there, corporate sponsorships, donations, other things, you know, more philanthropic
Grant writers.
opportunities, grant writers. But I've heard a lot of support for Halliwell. So,
So, I mean, I totally support both locations, but I think now that we're talking community center versus Scouters or Pacheco, the one thing that the seniors had been very vocal about is they wanted their own space. And if we go into a community center, now it looks as though they're gonna have space, but it's not gonna be their space. It's gonna be space that they need to constantly put things away and take out. They're not gonna have an area that they can go to that's set up at any time for card games or, dance class or their lunches. Every time it's gonna have to be a set up and take down. And I think that was the plea that they were making, is they wanted something that they could call their own. And I think with going with Halliwell, with it being a community center, which I totally agree that it could be great to have a community center, but this is different than what Scouters or Pacheco was originally thought as. It was thought as a senior center and Scouts, so that the seniors could have their space and they didn't have to be fighting for the times and, having people in their space, so they could go and be together and do what they wanted to do. So now, I just don't see that happening in a community center.
I know that in the time that I've served on the Halliwell committee, that BH&A, I believe, met with Linda Tebow and met with the senior advisory committee, or a population of the seniors in town. And they pretty much accommodated, I remember the quote was, "You pretty much achieved everything on my wish list." And there is a lot of discussion around, and it doesn't mean that that is finalized, that there isn't any dedicated space for them inside of Halliwell. I think we're just assuming that there isn't because it's multi-generational. But I don't think the grant was sold as just a senior center.
No, it was multi-generational.
So I think that there is ways to, maybe badge access security or, whatever. If you wanted to set it up, you could set up a space for seniors at Halliwell. You could probably redefine the plan to include a space for Scouts if they need additional space. There's opportunities probably through other areas through, pre-K and other stuff, if that need ever grows. I know that's a very popular program in town in education. But I think there's a lot more you can do, and you're not bound to just one footprint at Scouters. Because I believe also too, we were talking, I wasn't on the council, but I believe the idea was you could add a second floor to Scouters. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with building at Scouters, but I just think Halliwell offers more both now and in the future. You kind of achieve both objectives.
I think part of what makes it so difficult is there's such, the people on both sides that whose opinions you value and you respect so much. And it's tough because they, you know, they each have a different opinion of where they should go, and it's a tough one.
I think the other thing too is I think about this more, and I don't mean to dominate the conversation, but you know, we've heard a lot about not tearing down Scouters, and a vote to move towards Scouters ultimately means you're voting to tear down Scouters,
Right.
because that is what we are being sold on. It's the cheaper option is to tear it down and build new. And there is a lot of sentimental value, just like there is at Halliwell, and I don't think that should be discounted in the decision as well. Because we've heard a lot of people speak fondly of it shouldn't be torn down. Yeah, I know I've heard outside of this meeting that as well.
Well, it needs work, though. You have to remember
Right, so
that,
how
too.
do you repair the building when it's in such disrepair? There's gonna be parts of it that are gonna have to be basically torn down or redone, right? So I understand that there's a lot of people that are really connected to this building, but we still have to, it still needs to be renovated, or
I think we put together a building committee then, and we look at what kind of grants are there. There's the Champlain Foundation, there's the Levy Foundation, there's state and federal agencies. I think there's money out there. I think we're just, you know, maybe there's a corporate sponsorship somewhere. You know, I think we just need to really kind of think outside the box on funding, but we heard it. I mean, Scouters was, you know, renovated, like back in the 90s, 80s? They got what, over $70,000 plus dollars? That was a lot of money back then. You know, what is that dollar worth today? So I don't disagree that Scouters needs work. It's evident by the photos, but if we do move it at Halliwell, I definitely agree that we need to still do something at Scouters, but I wouldn't support building two buildings, you know, in terms of Halliwell and Scouters. I think, to Jeff's point, that would be a little redundant.
Okay, do you want to make a vote? Take a vote?
so I'll make a motion? We're gonna make a motion, or?
Go ahead,
I'm gonna make a motion.
Go ahead.
You're gonna walk me up, baby. I make a motion that the new center be put on the Halliwell property.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, what do I have to go first?
Hmm?
Why do
What?
I have to go first?
What'd
You're
you
just
say?
lucky. Why do I have to go first?
Do we have any other discussion or questions?
No.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Beauregard?
No.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Osier?
Yes.
Ms. Alves?
No.
There you go.
So there we go, it's going to Halliwell.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay.
And we really thank all of you. It wasn't an easy decision.
So, thank you. So now, I guess the direction of council to Halliwell Review Committee and Multi-Generational Advisory Committee. So, so Mr. Porter, you advised you have 2 open seats on your committee?
That is correct. We have 2 open seats, and then a third will be coming because of the resignation of Mr. Chris Simpkins. He has resigned to myself. He has not resigned to the town clerk yet, but that resignation is coming. So there will be 3 open seats on the Halliwell Review Committee. Additionally, for further direction, if we want to put our foot back on the gas pedal, I can reach out to BH+A to provide a contract amendment for the Halliwell site to provide full design services from schematic design through construction documents, bidding, and CA. And I can likely work with BH+A to get that on the agenda in the next couple weeks, so we can get that moving as well.
Also, I believe we need to add per charter a member, if the Halliwell committee becomes a building committee, we need to add a member of the Asset Management Commission to it, I believe as well. So what does that look like from a voting perspective?
So you could revise the this is just me talking, this is your prerogative. You could certainly revise the resolution to include a member of the Asset Management Commission that would take 1 seat, and then there would still be the 2 open seats.
I think it's important to keep the members of the multi-gen committee very much involved in this.
I agree.
Absolutely.
So
And you
could
have
we-
you have
could
the
we,
option to expand the number of seats
Yeah, could we
or have
change the
non-voting members.
resolution
Yeah.
to expand the seat number and,
Make sure there's inclusion.
I think the council should consider, obviously, not only expanding, but you also, both of these committees have finished their function, and if you're gonna convert it to a construction committee, you need to think about what those obligations are gonna be.
okay. Okay, all right, so we'll, can we work together on that and, okay.
Okay.
All right.
And then in the meantime, would you like me to start working with BH plus A to get a full service contract? So then that way you have that number and potentially even vote on it before or after the election, before the next round?
Why don't we can we take a vote on that, just so everyone is in agreement?
I think so. Well, it's a direction to the committee, so I guess you can give a direction to the Halliwell committee.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to give Mr. Porter direction to work with BH&A for
Full service
contract.
contract.
What's that?
A full service
A
contract.
full service contract regarding the
Multi-generational center. At Halliwell.
multi-generational / community center
At Halliwell.
in Halliwell. You had to get that in.
I did. I'm sorry.
Second.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes, okay, all right.
Madam President, if I may, just, I want to thank the five of you. I also want to thank the members of the Halliwell Review Committee. And I also want to thank the members of the Multi-Generational Advisory Committee. I truly think we can continue to collaborate and move things forward. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I just
We
want to
have
thank
to.
everyone on
Yeah,
both
thank you.
committees, because you guys have worked really hard, and you really pushed.
Madam President?
Yeah.
I believe most of the people that are in this room right now are here for item K. May I make a motion to move item K up to the top of the agenda at this time?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Didn't know that.
We didn't know that, so, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so, discussion by council vote or other action on executive order for temporary and emergency regulations for Sales Hill Road. Town Administrator Zelinski. Do you want to just take a recess for 1 minute?
Yeah, let's take a minute.
Let's just
People
take a
leaving
minute.
for Halliwell and then.
Whatever you want.
So we're just going to take a recess for 1 minute while people leave and All right, back in order. Discussion by council vote or other action on executive order for temporary and emergency regulations for Sales Hill Road. Town Administrator Zelinski. Excuse me.
Madam President, I'll go up to the podium. Paul Swampski, Town Administrator. For a few weeks now, we've been hearing about your safety concerns. It's not safe to walk out your driveway. It's not safe to drive home. God forbid the children go out on the road. So what I did on, put my glasses on? October 3rd, I made an executive order. This is the law right now. Emergency declaration, temporary emergency regulations for Sales Hill Road, Town of North Smithfield. This emergency declaration executive order is hereby issued immediately. Now, this has been posted up on the town website. It's been e-blasted to everybody. It's also been put in the town's weekly newsletter. So if you want, you can come see it in its entirety on the town website. Basically what it says, starting October 3rd, Monday, Sales Hill Road will be restricted to traffic from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. It'll once again be restricted to traffic from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. This mirrors what we did on Old Smithfield Road several years ago, and it's worked. Now, Chief Lafferty is here. His department is going to enforce this. We must give this time. For the first week or two, it's an educational thing. They will have police officers stationed there to tell people, turn around, go back. Now, if you live on Sales Hill Road and you want to merge onto 146 during those hours, you'll be able to, but I wouldn't suggest it. So after that, of course, it'll be two-way traffic. So I'll handle any questions you may have. Chief Lafferty's here. He'll be able to bring you up to speed on the police efforts to provide safe roads. Yeah, Paul, since that's been in effect October 3rd, it's been worse. It's like people see that sign. Okay, I understand. So this is not a public hearing. This is just for us to tell you what's going on. I do really appreciate all your concern, and I really appreciate your safety concerns in showing up this evening. But it has to build momentum, and it's going to start, and the chief will be able to explain that to the efforts that the police department are going to take so that we can provide the roads. Right now, people know about it. People cruising in from Massachusetts and New York using Waze to circumvent to save 2 minutes, putting us in danger. Now, that's ending. So the chief is going to, Chief, you want to say some words?
Tomorrow, starting at 7 a.m., we will have officers posted at the entrance of Sales Hill Road from 146 southbound, and we will be turning traffic away during those hours. It'll be a one-way for those 3 hours from 7 to 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Except for residents, right?
I'm sorry, excuse me, Chief.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we can't open this up to questions because that would be a public hearing.
I understand that. So we will be taking, we will be there in presence. We're going to let this have a learning curve to take enforcement like we did on Old Smithfield Road. Just bear with us, and we will try to do the best we can to restrict the amount of traffic on Sales Hill Road. I do understand all your complaints. I know Mr. Corvo in the incident that occurred over the weekend. We will try our best to do everything we can to try to rectify this issue. Thank you.
So maybe we can try this out for a couple of weeks, and then if we're still having issues, maybe they can contact the administrator, and then we can do a public hearing so we can hear about the residents. But if we can give it a couple of weeks to try what you're doing.
Sure.
And then if we continue to have issues, then we can have a public hearing. But unfortunately, because it it wasn't published as a
Sure.
public hearing?
The Sales Hill Road people have been very great. I know a few personally, and my door's always open, and I've received and made phone calls back to all those who made complaints.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
President, Mr. Igliozzi, do we need right now, the chief, his guys can't issue a summons for doing this because there hasn't been a legislative act by the council, correct?
No, he can do it.
He can give
The
it.
administrator is authorized under state law and your charter.
So he can issue a summons for
executive
this.
order, and on the executive order, it indicates the chief can give a summons. The
Okay.
chief is in control of that traffic during that period of time, and he can determine, as he indicated, that there will be no traffic during those hours. If somebody violates that, the executive order is very clear that violations shall be adjudicated in the town of North Smithfield Municipal Court pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 818-3, and you could be subject up to a $500 fine, which is the maximum jurisdiction this town has for fines.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So we all
So
set?
it's in effect right now.
Okay.
It's in effect. This is in effect as of October 3rd, but I think the chief is getting organized to execute it.
So,
Yeah.
so actually since Thursday, it's been in effect?
It's been effect.
Okay.
It just hasn't been executed.
All right. So Chief, can you just update us in a couple of weeks, and if we need to have a public hearing to have some more feedback, then we can do that?
Sure.
All right, thank you so much.
Can I just ask a logistical question?
Mm-hmm.
To Mr. Soer's point, the residents aren't affected. I mean, they'll be able to go on their own street, right? I mean, and not have any issues, right? I mean, how are we going to identify who's a resident, who's not, and that kind of thing? I just want to make sure we're not maybe adding a layer of,
It'll follow the same guidelines as Old Smithfield Road.
as Old Smithfield Road. Okay. I see. All right.
Yeah, I don't believe the residents, you can't say the residents can, and the general public can't. It's a
Can't do
one-way
it.
for those hours of time and restrict traffic.
So everything will be consistently enforced? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so like we said, if you can try this out for the next couple of weeks, and if there's any comment that we need to have to address, just please let us know, and we can do a public hearing. It just was not advertised as a public hearing, so unfortunately, we can't open it up tonight. Okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Guess we should take another break. Yeah, we're gonna take a break. We'll just pause for a few minutes while everyone departs.
Gentlemen, thank you for acting promptly. They can schedule a public hearing, and the chief can tell you what he can't do. The chief can modify.
I think he hit it on the head. Did I read it right? I'm a resident. Can I use that exit? Or is he shutting it down?
He's shutting it down.
Okay.
He's shutting it down.
You either want it or you don't. It's bad.
So that's why
He had a few people come. I know he had the whole neighborhood.
You can't win no matter what you do.
They're cutting
Oh, could be like 6 hours.
Thank you.
CJ, we all set? All right, yeah, we're good. We're gonna continue.
I'm surprised the
I mailed it. Oh, you are welcome. It's going to take a little time. Yeah, once they start issuing tickets, but they got to give them a week to say turn around, go back. And once they start seeing them back up, the people coming in from Massachusetts, they're going to stop. And they're not saving any time. That light at Sales Hill Road, they've extended the green time on it. That's what the road opened up longer. Hi. Good choice. What's I say about my wife?
I know, that's
I don't
what
know
I'm
why
like,
she
what?
Hey, Tony.
Okay. Discussion by council vote or other action on sewer department. Discussion by council vote or other action on sewer pump station improvements. Mr. Dory.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, that
How
was
are we doing
fun.
today?
Hi.
Good evening.
All right. I thought I was going to be here at 11:30, so this is awesome. All right. So before you got our request for qualifications that went out as part of our seeking the loan, the $4 million loan for repairing the sewer pumping stations. We were required to send out a request for qualifications. We ended up getting 5 bids in, and we took those bids and we ranked them based on firm qualifications, project organization and personnel, relevant experience, references, management approach, and previous expertise. Out of the 5 bids that were received, 2 were very, very highly rated. That was Wright Pierce and Pear. They were almost on parity with each other for all of the qualifications. Very close behind was WSP. I'm sure you guys were able to take a look at them. We provided you guys all those booklets that they basically, I think you guys got them in electronic form now instead of hard copy. There you go.
We have both.
They're awesome. I mean, so that's great. So after going through all of them, like I said, Wright, Pierce, and Pear were on parity with each other, except for one category, and that was previous experience with the town. We've been working with Wright Pierce on this particular issue with the pump stations now for like a 1.5 years or more, and that kind of put them over the top as far as who we thought should be awarded this contract. I'm capable of answering any questions you guys have about this. We sat with the information for about a week. I think had a special session last week just to nail down who we thought was top on this request for qualifications.
And you're satisfied with the work that's been done by Wright?
Oh, absolutely,
At this
absolutely.
point,
You're
for
talking
the
about a
last
national
year?
firm that can
Yeah.
leverage experience across
Okay.
multidisciplines. I mean, they're Wright, Pierce, Pear, and WSP are all high quality
quality.
firms. Their organization and personnel are beyond reproach, and they all have experience in this area. Like I said, the one thing that put Wright Pierce over the top was their previous experience with our town. Pear has experience in Smithfield, and Smithfield has been very, very happy with the work they did, but that's not North Smithfield, so that, like I said, that just put Wright Pierce a little bit ahead of Pear in our estimation. I don't know, Bill, you want to say anything?
I pretty much would just repeat what he said. We've been working with Wright and Pierce on this particular project, so they're really familiar with it. They've already done the assessment, and we just feel like I personally feel like they can hit the ground running, you know, without having to come in and assess. It's like saving a step in the process.
Right. And the cost is, do we have the
So
cost?
there is no cost on this. This is just request for
To de-
qualifications.
Just to
And it's
determine-
part of the Federal Brooks Act. It's a requirement when you go out for SRF funds, is that we have to look at qualified bidders first, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Okay. So do we have to, we don't have to take any action on this, it's just them. You don't need any action from us.
Well, yeah, we need you
You
guys
asked-
to approve
The
Wright
right
Pierce for the project.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve Wright Pierce on the recommendation of the sewer commission.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Discussion by council vote or other action on appeal for adjustments of EDUs for Village Haven, owner Ms. Campanella.
I am Sandra Campanella. My husband and I own the Village Haven restaurant. On August 22nd of this year, I appeared before the sewer committee to request an appeal of our sewer tax fee. The Village Haven is charged 35 EDUs per year. Our sewer tax is about $25,000 per year. The EDUs are based on fire code capacity, which is standing room, at $40 per seat per day. Sorry, 40 gallons per seat per day. The Village Haven is only open 24 hours per week. Our lower level is only used for private events and 3 holidays per year. Using the formulation of 35 EDUs per year, that means we discharge wastewater at 4,522,000 gallons per year. However, our water bill, metered water bill, shows our intake is 478,000 gallons per year. That is meaning that we are discharging much more than we could possibly take in. When I appeared before the sewer committee, Mr. Becker stated that there's a calculation from DEM that they must follow. However, the document that they are referring to is actually DEM's rules for minimum standards relating to the location, design, and construction of an on-site water treatment system. This is to build the system, not to tax, and it's not based for a fee schedule. So it's not applicable to use it. Mr. Dory said that he had concerns coming up with a rule for individual businesses, and that the sewer committee operates with the rule of neutral applicability. However, not using the DEM model as they do, not everything is based on the EDUs that they say that they're using. The sewer committee asked that I can appear before the town committee. They denied my appeal, so I'm here asking for a review of that.
So you do have large, I'm sorry, may I ask? You do have large parties at times, though, right?
We do
Functions
infrequently.
in the lower,
Yes.
the lower level?
We do infrequently. Ever since COVID, which was when nobody could have banquets in Rhode Island, a lot of people learned and changed the way they hold weddings or private events. So the big weddings that there used to be at 200 people are now usually about 85 is the average. And we're not booking that many weddings anymore. This year, we've only done 3. Last year, we did 1.
And so what we're looking at right now is just a standard, how many EDUs? Was this not reduced at some point too, at this location in the recent past?
It was reduced for a specific reason. I didn't own the Village Haven at that
Okay.
time,
Okay,
so I don't know.
I think we just, so, do you have any?
So I guess in order to lower the EDU, wouldn't we obviously have to lower the capacity of the building?
So the capacity is set by fire code, and it's done by the square footage of the building for standing room. We did ask the previous fire chief, who's just retired, to lower our capacity, and he said he couldn't because of the actual structure of the building.
Okay. Let's see.
Quick question. On a busy Saturday night, full banquet, full restaurant, how many people are you gonna turn?
In the
over?
building, how many what?
How many people are you gonna serve? On a busy Saturday night, you got a full restaurant upstairs and you got a banquet downstairs.
That's infrequent?
Yeah, I'm just asking, yeah.
Okay, so upstairs we can see 200 people,
I'm
but we
sorry?
would not, 200?
Okay.
And downstairs, hi. Oh. Scared me.
Casey Neiman. I'm around.
Downstairs, if, let's say, somebody was having a wedding, the capacity is 200, but that would include sitting on this, or standing on the stage and on the dance floor, standing where there would be tables and chairs, which couldn't happen.
No, I'm just asking, in reality, on a busy Saturday night.
That is not our
how many
reality,
meals
so
are
I
you gonna
can't
serve?
answer your question.
What's
That's
that?
not our reality. That doesn't happen,
What doesn't happen?
that we have a full capacity dining room on a Saturday with a full capacity banquet room downstairs.
Okay. You
it
don't-
doesn't-
you
it
don't
doesn't
have a
happen.
banquet going on at the same time on a Saturday that you would have?
Not at full capacity. No, not at full capacity, at both times.
No, I just said busy
Oh,
Saturday.
busy?
Yeah.
What's the answer to that?
On a busy Saturday night, we do about 550 cups.
All right.
That'd be
Mhm.
the total number, if
Okay.
that's what.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Oh.
you know, on a busy Saturday night, on a busy Sunday all day, you'd be talking about 750, 800
Okay.
total.
Throughout the
You
whole
know?
day.
Right, on a Monday, we're never open, on a Tuesday, we're never open, on a Wednesday, we're never open.
Right.
So using that, you know, you gotta also understand there's
I'm with
days
you.
that-
All right.
So, that we were never open, so, but, yeah, I mean, you know, thank God for Saturdays and Sundays. So, but there was, to the question before, at one point, and Gary's here, the old owner of Village Haven, he could answer the question. Before they connected to the sprinkler system, they were charged for 12 EDUs. And then at some point, it shot up dramatically. So, yeah. But again, we have metered water coming in. There's no way part of that water coming in is gonna be consumed. So we wouldn't even be discharging 10 times more water than we would bring in, you know? And I know you need one formula for all, but I could also tell you from sales of other locations, our neighbors who do 3 times the amount of volume in sales are not paying 35 EDUs. So, you know, and I know it's tough to come up with a formula, one size fits all, but this size, you know, we're getting ready to invest more money into redoing the front of Village Haven, creating a handicap entrance in the front, and taking some means. And I gotta be honest with you, you know, coming up between sewer and water, $2,700, $2,800 a month is a mortgage payment on its own. So it's just not fair. You know, we ask that you just look into it. You know, compare it maybe to other locations, and you know, let us know if there's anything. So.
Okay. Do you
Yeah,
have
Mr.
any,
Dory.
thing you can, light you can shed on this,
I need
Mr. Dory?
someplace to place, otherwise, yeah. Slide over. All right, so the ordinance, we base our, for restaurants and houses and everything, we use EDUs. And we all know that's been kind of problematic, because you got like big houses with 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, charge the same amount as more efficient, smaller homes. They each get 1 EDU. People have complained endlessly, this is not fair, and it isn't. I mean, I'm gonna be, yeah, it isn't. But it's the best we have right now, because almost nobody in town, except for some of the businesses, are metered. So we use an EDU policy. For businesses, we calculate that based on the seating capacity. And with Village Haven, the seating capacity has been coming down based on updates in the fire codes and what have you. So right now, the rate is $689.93 per EDU. It's not 35 EDUs anymore, it's 34, because we reduced it at the last meeting because there was an error in the calculation. I know 34, 35 doesn't make a big difference, but it's a little.
$600.
It is. So right now, the amount that Village Haven's looking at paying is $23,457.62.
That's a water bill. That's sewer and water.
That's,
That's just sewer.
well, that's just sewer.
Right, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sewer,
that's
right,
just
even
sewer.
worse.
Yeah, you got a water bill too, on
Right.
top of that. So they requested us to move it down to 19 EDUs. They were trying to justify this on seating capacity, which is the only way we have under the ordinance and by using the DEM DEM spreadsheet to create to calculate the EDUs for the businesses based on just their seating capacity, regardless of how they use it. I mean, if they have the seating capacity, the expectation is that they use it. What they're asking right now for a reduction is a reduction to $13,108.67, which equals to a $10,348.95 abatement in their taxes. So what I think the problem is when they're asking for us to reduce the EDUs, we can't do that because there's no way of neutrally doing that, that I could apply to everybody else. But we did encourage them to come before you because you can make political decisions and you can abate their taxes. We're not reducing their EDUs. We're saying this year we're gonna abate, based on the evidence you produced to us, we're gonna abate your taxes. And when the sewer commission listened to them, I think we were very receptive to, they are metered. They are definitely not doing 35 or 34 EDUs. But under the ordinance and under the calculations that we use for all the businesses, we don't have a rule of neutral applicability that I can apply to just, like, to everybody. It'd be a special rule for them, which is not something the sewer commission's willing to do. Now, you are a political organization. You were voted in by the taxpayers. You can abate taxes. You could say, yeah, we're looking at how much water you're actually bringing in. We know that that's not the correct sewer discharge, so we'll abate your taxes, in this particular case, $10,348.95 for this year. Or not. Based on with the sewer commission, when we were sitting here listening, we're very sensitive to this. We know that they are not discharging as much as we're charging them. Not even close. And it's based on the usage. The usage right now is very limited. I don't know if you want them to come back with evidence of that. They don't have evidence of that in their packet. I don't disbelieve her. I know what they're doing. But the sewer commission was not against the reduction per se, but we have no way as a non-political entity to do that because there's no way within the rules to do it. You would have to do it as an abatement. And that's up to you.
Can I ask a question, Madam President? So if we know that some businesses are on, and maybe this is just adding a level of complexity, and I have an additional question after, but if we know that certain individuals, not just businesses, but individuals are on metered, why wouldn't we just look at using the metered for those businesses and then EDUs for, or residencies, and then EDUs for if they're not on a net meter system?
That is a great question.
Why don't we just change the ordinance?
So that is, I love where you're going with this, Doug. I love it. This is why you're on the council. So, that's the next big project. So the first big project I took care of was, getting all our pump stations up to par, getting the $4 million loan. Right. That was a lot of heavy lifting, looking through all the grants to see if anybody would cover Lincoln, phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3. So that was one big 5-year project. The next project we're taking on for the next part of the year is looking at how we can reform the ordinance to be more fair to businesses that are metered, possibly metering all houses so we can better reflect usage versus, instead of just EDUs. Because let's be honest, a house on Lincoln Drive is spending a lot more EDUs than maybe a nearby house on like St. Paul Street. Mm-hmm. And is it fair to necessarily charge everybody the same? But all these come with trade-offs. Do we do EDUs for some people, metered for other people? That gets into another layer of complexity. Do we meter everybody? That's $1,500 to $2,000 charge per house plus annual maintenance. So these are complex questions. We're going to be addressing them and looking into them over the next year to 2 years, taking public comment. But as of right now, where I'm sitting in front of you with their problem, they need an abatement or we have to go with 34 EDUs.
So I guess my other question is maybe we need more information to come back, because I'm looking at the history of the EDU for the Village Haven, and it went from 53 to 45 in 2009 to 2013, and that was That decrease in the dining room seats was due to an updated 2008 fire code. It dropped in 2014 to 35, now it's 34 due to a reduction in seat count. And I believe they said inside their doc packet that it's like 300 and change, I think is the seating capacity. So, you know, if the seating capacity is continuing to decrease, I would think that that would support it. I don't know
but
what.
even if you give her the decrease in seating capacity that she's asking for, let's just play devil's advocate here.
Yep.
You give her the seating capacity difference, you're still talking a huge number of EDUs, and it's nowhere close to what they're actually doing. See, the sewer commission wasn't against what she was saying per se.
Mhm.
We just have no authority to do that. This is an abatement. This is a you guys question.
So the information that I guess we could request to come back is your actual bills, right? Showing your usage.
Your water bill,
for
usage bill. Your usage
for the
bills for water.
last, you know, how long have you owned the building?
2 years.
2 years? So maybe like the last year, just to show us the usage, so we can see that there is a decline from what was previously issued, and then we can probably make a decision on that.
The water bill is not in question in previous years. The water bill probably could have been the same or not. It's the intake of water comparative to the sewer discharge.
So
You
is
would
there
assume
anything
water in,
measured?
water out, but what's happening is because of the EDU schedule proceeding, we are being sort of discharging 900 times more water than what we're actually bringing in per our water meter.
So the EDU calculation presumes a certain amount of discharge per seat and the type of seat that you have in your particular facility. And so we take that, and then whatever you come up with some magic number, say it's, in this particular case, 211 banquet seats at 5 gallons per day, you come up with 1,303 total gallons per day. You divide that by the 345 gallons per day for each EDU, and you come up with a total of EDUs, and you round up. So in this particular case, it's 3.78 EDUs for a total of 4 EDUs. What she's saying is that they don't even have that much water coming into the building, so there can't be the discharge that the EDU calculation is saying that there is. They're not using Village Haven the way it was originally intended, which was a big banquet facility with,
see what's-
or ever was.
Yeah, but what's not,
Right.
wait, what's not clear though, I mean, it's not necessarily true, is it? Because everybody's breakfast and lunch is going down the drain, not what they drink at the time.
Well,
They're
they
not,
have to be in the building for it to go down the drain. The building's only open 24 hours a week.
right, but what I'm saying is you can't go by the amount of water you take it in because people are discharging not what they're doing there.
So
Wait,
you
wait,
if they
what?
bring in 478,000 gallons, we're gonna.
No, I'm not
discharge
saying it.
4.5
What I'm
million
saying
gallons?
is though, it's not exactly, you can't go amount
Are you
of
talking
coming
what
in.
they bring in their body?
No, what I'm
Like,
saying
I'm a
is-
little
no,
confused.
what I'm saying
I
is
think
if they're
that's-
gonna what I'm saying is if they're gonna flush the toilet, if they're
Yeah.
flushing, right? They're not flushing what they're eating at the Village Haven.
Not
Well,
everyone.
no, when you flush a toilet, you flush a toilet, it's usually like a gallon per flush, right?
Is it a gallon?
Usually it's a gallon, 1.2, like, that's
Okay.
not, I hope that's not coming out of somebody.
No, it's
I mean-
not. But what I'm saying is they're flushing the toilets.
So they're flushing the toilet, they're flushing the toilets, the sinks, from washing the dishes,
Right.
using the dish machine, cooking the food. All of that water coming in, whenever you do a sewer calculation and you base it on meters, most of the meters are based on the intake for the water you bring in, and they just assume that's what's going out.
Okay.
They don't have a separate meter on the discharge to the sewer. It's all based on what comes in through the front end, not necessarily what's going in the back end.
Okay.
And usually, if you were talking about a residence, it would be a 95%. Usually, water intake, 95% less goes out because some of the water is not discharged that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is some sort of tracking that they could do so that they could show us some sort of?
So what they could show you is they could show you their water usage for the last 2 years as they've been using it in its current capacity. We could take an estimation based on the actual amount of, we could do a calculation based on their actual usage to come up with a total EDU amount or an abatement amount. I mean, actually, we can't come up with an EDU amount. We could tell you what it is roughly in EDUs, and then you guys can do an abatement. We can't change their EDUs. Their EDUs are what they are based on the ordinance and based on the DEM handbook for these calculations. But you guys can abate them based on what you know their usage is. But we don't have that in front of you because that was not part of her original appeal.
Can I, I'm sorry, go ahead.
This isn't consistent through the area as far as billing to certain restaurants. So what's, the story right there is very confusing.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay, so the restaurants in that area who are open a lot longer, et cetera, aren't paying as much as they are.
They are not because they have less capacity. So the problem
But the turnover's a lot more and the people going in and out. The hours of usage
theoretically,
are a lot
you're not
more.
wrong. They might be using more water. But once again, we have an EDU policy. The thing is at the end of the day, these are the rough guidelines provided by the DEM. This is one of the things that's not great about using EDUs, but it's what we have. In their particular case, though, they're not open. We know they're not open 7 days a week, turning over all these tables. So it's a unique situation. Like I said, this is a political question. This is for
Then we'll
you
do the
guys to
right
make a
thing.
political
Am I correct,
decision.
Mr. Dory, with your help? For them, we'll do the right thing.
Well, that's why I'm here. I'm trying to explain it to you as articulately as I possibly
You're
can.
doing it well, but to get it on paper is another thing.
Well, I think they can get it on paper. It's just what they've presented to you, I'd find, if I was in your position, I'd find it hard to make a decision. I would request more information from them, and maybe from the sewer commission to give you guys a calculation that you can go off of. But what was presented to the sewer commission in its first go-around is what has to be presented to you.
So can I just ask another clarifying question? Because I'm looking at this, and maybe I'm missing something here, but I'm looking at the Village Haven EDU history, and I understand what you're saying about DEM. But again, from 2002 to 2008, it was 53 EDUs, it was 700 dining room seats. From 2009 to 2013, it was 45 EDUs, 507 dining room seats. And the note is not related to DEM, it's related to a decrease in the number of seats due to an updated 2008 fire code. And then it was 35 due to another reduction in seat count. So if the seat count is reducing, wouldn't that would result in a decrease in the EDU, wouldn't it? Not necessarily, because the DEM policy is from 2012.
Yeah, no,
So I guess what is the relation of fire code and other stuff?
The EDUs are going down because you're multiplying the type of seats.
Yep.
Times the DEM policy. So each seat's different. So a banquet seat is 5 gallons per day. A dining room seat is 40 gallons per day. Bar seats are 10, unless you're serving food, then they're 40. So it really depends when you go in and you do an inspection of the place, how many seats you can possibly use. They have a lot more seats than what they use, and that's the problem here, is they're not, unless they pull all this stuff out, which they're not gonna do, I mean,
But we still can't because it's.
But I guess let me finish, right? So I'm also looking at, from Dog Pack LLC, a letter to the, I'm assuming this is a letter to the town of North Smithfield. They're saying that their seating capacity in dining room and lounge, the dining room and lounge has a fire code capacity of 305 standing code. So I guess what I'm wondering is the last time there was that significant of a reduction in seats from 700 to 507 due to fire code, it dropped from 53 to 45.
No,
So
hold on, but that's so.
I guess, but
So you're looking at total seats are 502.
would seat count of all classes related to fire code have an impact on the EDU?
Yes.
And I'm
So-
assuming the fire code has changed probably since '08, right? Or is it, does it not change?
No, 08 was the big change because the
Maybe that's a
station
question for
nightclub
the fire
fire.
chief.
There you go.
Right, Chief? Station nightclub fire, that was the big change in 2008.
change with sprinklers and.
Yeah, which reduced the capacities of a lot of these places. So that's the big change there. But you have 305, but you also have the 216 in the paragraph below it. So you're looking at seating capacity for the dining room and lounge is 305. But you also have the seating capacity for the Wheelock room downstairs. So if you add those together, you're getting closer to the 502.
The 502.
Maybe even a little bit more than.
May I also, but the seating, it's actually standing room capacity.
Yeah.
Because if you were to go in there and actually count how many seats are in there that you can actually sit down, upstairs is 260. Downstairs, you can only fit 165 sitting down. You know what I mean? Actually, you put a wedding of 110 down there, it's pretty tight.
Okay.
So actually, when the fire marshal came in he said, I have to go by the measurements of the place. I can't actually count your seats. And he did, and he went by the measurements, and that's where he comes up with the number. So that's actually almost a standing room. It also takes into effect workers, so, which he explained to me, which makes sense, right? So the building capacity also has the people working inside. So if we have 34 employees, you know, they're also being charged for
That makes
that
sense.
EDU count. So, but you know, again, we have a meter on our water coming in, so we know what we're using. We know what we could discharge. So if you apply that like a home, and, you know, we use 95% of that, whatever it is, you could get a number, you know.
I think that's what we need to focus on.
I agree.
If you guys are gonna do an abatement, I think what you need to focus on is not trying to figure out what the seating capacity is, because you're still gonna come in way higher than what they're using. I think the request would be, what are you actually using? And then you guys can figure out what the value of that use is, and we can work with them to do that. If you guys are even inclined to do it, you could just say, you know, no, and then I'm done.
No, I think that makes the most
If you guys are inclined to
sense.
ask for more information, I'm fine with that, I'm more than willing to work with them. But they have a unique situation, because they are metered, we do know what they're using, and there is a gross disparity between the EDUs and the way they're calculated, not through anybody's fault, but just because of the way the ordinance is written, and what we know they're using. So they would be asking you for this year for an abatement, which you have the ability to do. We wouldn't be changing their EDUs, you would be abating some of their taxes. And that's a political question, only you guys can,
But how
weigh in
many
on.
years will that be
Well,
requested?
what I would suggest is, each year they come back, because
Yeah,
their
that's what
situation
I'm
might
saying.
change. Maybe
Yeah.
they're gonna have some other restaurant possibly move into a bigger space, because everybody loves to go there and eat the food, and there's not enough room where they're currently located, just saying. Because everybody loves the fusion of Portuguese food, but, just saying. But I might be asking for more information if I was you guys, unless you guys are completely opposed to this and want them to pay the $23,457.62.
So it basically goes back to what we were originally saying, is if we can see their year of their usage, their water bills, right, because of what they're,
Yep.
and then we can figure it out. But until we
Absolutely.
have that, like, let's do it a year at a time, so we can continue to, obviously, we want to keep them in town, and we want
Yes,
to
ma'am.
help them out as much as we can, so.
But this is a political question for you guys, not for the sewer commission. That's why we pushed it up to you guys. And I'm here, I hope you understand, I'm here in support of what they're saying.
Absolutely.
Because it's not even close.
I still
And
think
the
we
other
should
thing
look at
too
the
is, if you
ordinance.
guys, I just wanted to
I
say
think we
something
should
else. If
address
you
the
guys allow it for
ordinance.
them though, just be aware, you might have other businesses that are
I
metered
would
too.
that's what I was just
who are
gonna ask
come in
you.
here and say, hey,
Right,
us too.
right.
Which, this is why it's a political decision. You guys have to make that decision.
Well, I don't think it's political, really. I think it's to be fair, it's to be honest, it's to be consistent, you know what I mean? So if indeed others find themselves in a similar situation, we have to address that on a case-by-case basis. But
Yeah.
at least we have to have some, I believe, some consistency in how we look at it. So even if we're taking it on case by case, there should be some uniformity to what it is we're going to implement, right? So if there is another restaurant that finds themselves able to produce information that shows us there's a disparity, and it's a gross disparity such as yours, how do we, as a town, always address that? Do you know what I mean? And we don't have that.
But I
yet.
think that's where, if we're looking
That's
to
the
change the
political question.
ordinance, which I think we should look at it, like I said earlier. But I also think you could use this as kind of a way to help resolve that question now. This would be like a case study, or, you know, like a pilot program, you know, just to
But,
figure it
Yeah, and I
out.
think we have to be prepared that others may, you know, come forward and, you know, you have to adjust your budget.
So we can't
A lot.
we can't change the BDUs, EDUs.
So EDUs, right now, the way the ordinance is written, the way the DEM, we calculate the EDUs, we cannot change EDUs. That's why this is, and I'm using the term political question, but this is a town council abatement question.
Yeah.
They're not, they keep saying they were saying they wanted a reduction in EDUs. We can't do that, like,
Right.
especially not the sewer commission, and I don't even think you guys can, without a change in the ordinance.
Okay.
Which isn't happening tonight. But you can do an abatement, and that's why I think you guys are asking us to bring more information, so that you may be able to do that if you're so inclined.
Well, I think the important aspect of this whole thing is there's a meter, so we can
Correct.
translate. So if someone comes before us and just says, well, I don't think I use enough, but we have
The meter.
fact,
She knows.
right? So
She knows exactly what
So
she's
we know
using.
exactly what you take in, so that's the important piece.
And we will be addressing the CDU issue in future sewer commission meetings. So anybody who wants to come, be on the commission, I welcome you.
Gary, being the former owner, did you want to,
Yes, I just wanted to say that this is.
Can you
Can you go up to
get
the-
up to the, thank you.
Gary Naradilli, former owner of the Village Haven. This has been this way ever since the pipe was in the ground. The first 4 to 5 years, the town didn't even know how to charge us for sewer, so they didn't get a bill until we got a $12,000 or $15,000 bill. They did give us time to pay it, but back then it was 53 EDUs at the beginning. And we said it right from the beginning. Now, when we had it consistently, and I can go back 7 years on water bills that I still have, and I never used more than 450,000 gallons a year, never. Unless we had a major leak, but we never did. So it's always consistently 450 to 475. Their business is pretty much around the same. So it's always been that way. And we've been to councils. Paul Lavalley was the original sewer commission when it was installed. Jamie DeSalles, they all say, Gary, you're not being charged right. This is a California equation, I believe, for the EDUs, and it's meant for anything that does not have a metered service. And then we got water right away, right after that. And then the water usage was instant. I mean, we knew exactly what we used. So this has been going on since 1983, I believe, we put the sewer in. Too late.
okay,
So.
Thank you.
This has been a problem for a long time, and with the increase, it's really starting to choke.
okay.
business, so.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
All right, so,
Table and come back with more information, ma'am?
yeah, if we can go back a year, so we can see some consistency, and then I think we can go from there.
Do you want this to go before the sewer commission again and circle back around to you so you guys have clarity, or how do you want to handle this, ma'am?
Should probably go through the sewer commission and then come here.
Okay.
When is your next meeting?
Our next meeting is at the end of, this is October, the end of October.
So
But
it
then
is-
we'd have to approve our minutes, which would mean November.
So you'll go, yeah.
So,
Might not be back until December to see you,
yeah.
because it's 30
Well,
days.
I would think
We
it
may
should
see
probably
some
come
of
before
you
the
or not all
council.
of you, or a different
Yeah, so you might
combination of
want
you.
to, we might want to do that before, because then you might have a different council and they might
Just
not
be
feel the same
re-explaining
way,
yourself.
so.
So if you'd like, I could work with them and just bring it back to you guys. I mean, we already denied it, but I could help them craft the response so that you guys, not necessarily from the sewer commission, but so that it accurately reflects, and I can come back here with them if that's what you need.
Solicitor, is that okay that we skip?
You're going to continue the hearing
Yeah,
for additional information.
so it's okay that we don't.
I would
wait
keep the
for
appeal pending
Yeah,
rather than decide, and I would continue it.
okay.
Then I'll make a motion to continue to a date certain.
I would, yeah, continue to a date certain.
Mr. Dory, do you think you?
When are you guys meeting next?
2 weeks
So
from
2
now?
weeks, and then it won't be till what, the third week of November, right?
Let's see, hold on a second, let's just check my.
Yeah, 'cause we don't meet the election.
I would just add that this is really more something the council needs to consider. It's really a legislative problem.
Yeah.
It's not a political problem.
It's a leg-
It's not really a tax abatement.
Yeah.
It's a legislative problem. The council needs to have someone examine the ordinance by an engineer to determine if the equation is fair for everybody, as opposed to just making a decision for one person.
I agree.
That's what I mean.
Otherwise, you're going to
dangerous.
just have person after person making the same potential argument, which the bottom line is, you need to determine if the equation is fair. But
Correct.
if you determine the equation was fair, then the appeal would be denied. And then if you determine the equation is unfair, you might change the ordinance, and then you would potentially grant this appeal is in time, other appeals may be out of time.
But there's two things here, right? I mean, we can address this process
Well,
here
we-
first,
we're
and then
doing that.
also address
Well,
the
you
ordinance
can do
with
that. You can do that,
With
But-
all due respect to the solicitor,
if-
I think what you're talking about, though, is a longer-term investigation
Yeah,
of
it's a
the
long-
ADUs, and it's outside the scope.
That's
of
months.
What we're talking about in the immediate appeal.
Do it right.
No, I'm saying that if this appeal is the tip of an iceberg of a problem,
That's right.
you should face the problem instead of just deal with the appeal.
Yes.
And if the appeal has to be denied while you face the problem, then you do that. So you grant the appeal, you're granting the appeal without looking at the problem.
What happens if the business goes out of business while they're waiting?
And well, it's not about waiting, it's a legislative problem. That's what it is.
Yeah, but I will say, like, having recently worked on an ordinance that was pretty time intensive, David, you were there with the water supply stuff. I mean, it takes a while, it takes a long time. That took over a
The
year.
council can decide the
was with
appeal.
timelines, though, yeah.
The council can decide the appeal, but I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't have the ordinance evaluated to determine if this is an isolated incident or the ordinance needs to be changed.
Well, no, I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
The ordinance needs to be looked at, I think. It's for fair. And I like the idea of hiring an engineer. I think that helps. But I think we need to also figure out how to address the problem in front of us. I mean, if we're gonna look at the ordinance as a whole and make the Village Haven wait, then that needs to be the policy for every business or everybody that comes across and saying, we're gonna hold all these in appeal until we make a resolution. To which then you need to say, is it 30, 60? How long do you want that ordinance to pass and come back before the council? I mean, that's gonna have to be time bound. Otherwise, it's gonna be open-ended. And I don't think it's fair to them to keep them out in limbo the whole time.
Further, I agree with that. I don't think the appeal should linger. I think you have to make a decision on that appeal within a reasonable period of time, just based upon
two
basic
things.
fairness. I'm just suggesting to you, if you don't take on the legislative act of looking at the ordinance, I think you're missing the real issue here.
So then I'll amend my motion, Madam President, and then I would say that I would make a motion to review the ordinance and to also continue this hearing until a date, whatever date we want. That way we can tackle
21st,
both.
you guys are meeting?
Yeah.
I should be back. I'm in Norfolk, Virginia with the Navy, but I should be back unless the planes don't land, and I'll send somebody else. But we'll get their package squared away for you and bring you back that information. When do we have to have that information for you, so it's timely for the meeting?
That prior Wednesday.
Prior Wednesday, we'll make sure it's in your packages.
Okay.
So date certain to the next council meeting.
Okay. You sure you can turn
And
it
we'll
around?
investigate the ordinance too. We'll put that on our.
If you need help, I'm willing to help you.
I'd love you to show up to every sewer commission meeting, Doug.
Another note.
I'm glad you volunteered.
Just let me know when they are.
If you find yourself out of a job, I've got a seat for you.
Wedding hostess, she did a great job. The food was fantastic. We were just talking about it. Everything
Thank
was
you,
very good.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you're right.
All right,
There's
so
only
wait a minute.
110 people there.
We still need to vote on that, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you
Second.
imagine 219?
Second,
So we have a motion and a second. Any
That was
further
only 8 votes.
discussion?
John,
I'm sorry?
We just gotta
Any further
vote.
for
discussion?
voting?
Mr. Biragad,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes,
Mrs. O'Hara,
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can put on the lights tonight.
So, Anthony, before we move on, do you have the answer to the human resource position? Was it posted on the website?
Once we started doing applications, we took it down, and when we had started our second wave, we had forgotten to put it back up. So we'll make sure that's put back up for that. And then, like I said, I'll look into other other sources to be able to look for applicants against.
When will it be on the website?
I can try and see. When is Tammy back? Is Tammy back yet? I gotta find someone who knows how to do it, because Brienne is on vacation right now. So possibly Tammy, if she's not too overwhelmed with coming back from her vacation. So hopefully tomorrow.
All right, can you let me know when it's up?
Yeah.
Discussion by council vote or other action on hazard mitigation and flood management plan, update to REMA and FEMA. Ms. Monahan?
This one should be easy. So you received the 2024 Hazard Mitigation and Flood Management Plan Update draft version. So the reason that we do a hazard mitigation plan is so that we can create some mitigation actions to reduce the town's potential risks from natural hazards such as floods and hurricanes. Also, if we have a FEMA-approved hazard mitigation plan, we qualify for non-emergency FEMA funds. So that's important also. So the last plan was written in 2019, and we are required to update this plan every 5 years. We received a grant from REMA in June of 2023, and we went out to bid, and we went with VHB to do the hazard mitigation plan for us, with us. We created a hazard mitigation committee, which was made up of town departments such as building, inspection, zoning, planning, DPW, the school department, EMA, water sewer. We also had a business owner, the owner of Brigitto's was part of the committee, and a resident that was experienced in emergency management. So it was a big committee. We met every month for 5 months, and this was all directed by the VHB representative, her name was Carissa Mills. And she took notes and kept track of everything, and all that information is in this plan. She also created a survey to get a feel for what people thought were their biggest concerns about hazards or earthquakes or whatever, and we got 118 results, and the highest concerns were nor'easters, snowstorms, hurricanes, and high winds. So they also looked at the 2019 hazard mitigation plan and determined that we had met all of the actions that were required for 2019. So we were moving forward. In this plan, we have 20 new actions that have been proposed, and many of them address flooding in the area. It's becoming more frequent and more disrupting than it has been. So I'm here tonight to get your approval to send this plan to REMA and to FEMA for their approval. And then after they send us back comments, we'll make some changes, and then it will come back to you for final approval. So this is just to get your blessing to send this to FEMA and REMA.
Ms. Monaghan, if we've met the previous 2019 mitigation issues, can you just explain to us in like 2 sentences how that is accomplished? You know, so I know each one of them has, you know, specific thing for the schools, for the dams, for the, you know, waterways, everything. So do we go back to how do these things become implemented so that it's not just a lovely, you know,
Right.
not living document?
Right. I think it's going to be up to the departments to keep track of these things. I think we're going to meet once a year and have a plan to go forward, what needs to get taken care of. And we know the priorities from the surveys and from what we talked about in our meetings. The meetings were very productive, a lot of discussion, and I think that if we meet once a year or once every 6 months and decide what we need to move forward on, I think that that would be the best way to go.
Okay, can you also provide us with updates?
Sure.
More frequently, as you know, instead of every year or 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, it would be wonderful to have, you know, maybe every couple of months come and say, these are the things that we've addressed, or these are the things we're in process, or we need your help to address them, because
Okay.
it may be something the council needs to, you know, give you a little assist with.
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the draft of the 2024 Hazard Mitigation and Flood Management Plan update.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
hard work.
Sorry, Chief, I skipped you by accident. Discussion by council vote on other action regarding North Smithfield Fire and Rescue Service, Inc., request for additional funding pursuant to Section 6 extraordinary expenses of the contract by and between North Smithfield Fire and Rescue Services, Inc. and the town of North Smithfield.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This request is, I guess, basically a continuation of the executive session that we had a couple of weeks ago. We have a member that's going to be out long-term illness. So we're appealing to you under the Article 6 of our contract between the Rescue Service and the town for some relief for the added expenditures that it's going to cost to fill that person's position for an unknown amount of time.
So can you just update us regarding the open positions? I know you said you had some movement going, so are we in a better position?
Yes, in terms of the other vacancies, including this particular vacancy, I have 5 currently. So we just had 2 new people start last week. One of them is currently down at the Fire Academy. One of them was a lateral transfer. So he's currently doing his in-house orientation type training. As I said, one of them is down at the Fire Academy, so we're not gonna see him until December 20th when he graduates. And we have another lateral that's going to be coming to us. He just finished his requirements for his physical performance testing on Sunday, so I'm hoping to have him on board. Happily enough, it's a former member of the department that left us last year for another department that now wants to come back, so that's going to work out in our favor. So that'll be 3 of the 5 vacancies handled. One of the other ones is a reservist that's over in Japan. He's been deployed. He won't be back until March or April by the time we see him again. And then this person that's going to be out long-term illness. Although we are, the deputy chief and I have formulated what we feel is a pretty strong plan to get some people moved around to cover a lot of vacancies. This particular issue is going to be with us. It's no matter how many people we have, because I can't fill this person's position. He's still an employee with us, so we're paying his salary and we're paying to cover his spot. So if something changes where he can't return, then that's a different story. So, but we are getting some relief in the areas where we had the other vacancies. So that'll stop some of the bleeding.
So in a sense, you are back at your
We're getting
normal
there. We're not there
staffing
yet. We're
because
starting to get there.
You can't really hire those other 2 positions because you have the reserve person who's out and then the
The
person out
2
sick,
people
right?
coming in January, you're saying, that you funded in January, or? is
No,
that
you
what-
said you have two other vacancies. One is a reservist and
Oh,
one is
yes, no,
a
I can't
person. So
fill,
those
right, because
positions- Right,
they're employed by us.
right. So with this staffing level, where does that put the extra rescue? Are we still?
We are still on target right now. Full disclosure, you know, the deputy chief and I are keeping all options open. We've been on the 7-day schedule that we're working towards. We've been there since July. But there is a possibility that we may have to bring it down for a short time so that we can kind of get things stabilized back to 5 days, from 7 to 5 days. And that, I don't want to do that. We're making some of the necessary changes. Everything should be in place, I'm hoping, by the beginning of November or so. And we're going to kind of let this ride and see how it works out, let the 7-day rescue continue. But if we still continue to have issues, we may have to bring it down back to 5 days for a short period of time. I can't guarantee you that that's gonna happen, or that it's not gonna happen. At this point, we've made all the moves we can make. That's the only option left. And I was very clear to the deputy that that's going to be the last resort. But if we continue to have problems, we may not have no other choice. And that's assuming we don't have any other departures or.
Yeah. You just don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is.
And
for
as we spoke, I don't
extraordinary-
know, as we spoke of before, I mean, we're looking at, this is a monthly expenditure. We certainly can invoice the town with all the documentation of the number of hours, whatever they're looking for.
So you don't have a dollar amount that you're,
I can't give you a flat dollar amount, and here's why, because all of this depends on who's working, meaning if I have just lieutenants working, getting acting captain's pay, it's gonna be a little bit less. If I have all captains working, it's gonna be a little bit higher. If the deputy chief gets in the mix with some shifts, now, my ballpark estimate would be somewhere anywhere between $9,000 and $10,000 a month. The last 8 weeks from when this person went out with his illness, the first 4 weeks, we paid out $9,091 in overtime. The second 8 weeks, we paid out $9,492. But just looking at this at a quick glance, I had several captains that took some of the shifts. So that's the pay, the overtime rate difference. So my guess would be anywhere between $9,000 and $10,000 a month. And the unfortunate part is I can't give you a flat dollar amount because I don't know what's gonna happen. He could be out anywhere between 6 and 8 months, and hopefully he comes back, or he might not be able to return. So we just don't know.
so I know you said bringing down the rescue to 5 days would be the last thing you want to do, but are you still at a safe range for overtime for your guys? Like, are we extending them too much with this?
That's why we might have to reduce it to 7 days.
Okay.
We're at but with bringing on these two of the 3 people that we just brought on, because they have experience, that's gonna lighten some of the load too, where we can get them into the mix because they have experience. One of them is from the department, so, that'll be another 2 people who we can work into the overtime mix. That's why I don't wanna be too hasty in moving it from 7 days back to 5, because I wanna see if this helps a little bit.
So if you find out that's not working and your guys are really tired, can you come back and let us know that it is probably the best move to go down to 5
Yes,
days?
I would absolutely make sure that I let you know that we're gonna have to change, the hours of operation for that particular
Right.
operation.
Okay. Yep.
Chief, I know you answered this before, so excuse me for making you repeat yourself, but what was the reason you couldn't make acting positions all the way up the ladder, and then the only overtime you would have is filling a private position?
That's basically what we've done, Councilman, I just ran a test last week, so the last person who was eligible to test, he took the test, he passed, so now we're gonna move all these people into the spots, the officer spots that are open now. Like, for instance, this person that's out long-term illness, I'm gonna put another officer into his spot.
Right.
Okay? The person who just passed the test, he's gonna go to another spot that's vacated by the retirement that we just had by the fire marshal. Someone came off the floor, went to the fire marshal's position, so now technically his position was vacant, so that person's gonna take his. So, in reality, when we're all done with this, the 24-hour shift part of our department is all gonna be filled. It will be just the rescue, the staffing for the new rescue that we're putting on, that we're gonna start to have some overtime for. But as we bring on more people, then someone else will slide into that spot. You know, we'll get a firefighter comes on when he's ready to go, okay, you're gonna be one of the people of the two privates or the drivers of that rescue. You're gonna move to that slot. So it's gonna be a process, it's just, we gotta get there.
Okay.
You know, so we've done that, you know. But like I said, one of those positions is gonna be a temporary spot because this person that's out, he's a captain, I can't replace him, until we find out what's happening. So someone's gonna work in his spot.
That's an acting.
Well, it's an officer, but he's in that position temporarily.
Okay.
All right, we're just detailing him over to another spot.
Okay. So anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the North Smithfield Fire and Rescue Service request for additional funding pursuant to Section 6 extraordinary expenses per the contract.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
We don't have an amount.
It's gonna go monthly, right?
I don't want to
You
say,
can't make a motion open-ended.
so then not to exceed $10,000.
Yeah,
Start with that, and then if you need it,
That's gonna be per month.
per month.
right.
Okay,
And if you need it, we'll just adjust it.
yeah, so not to exceed 10,000 per
Thanks,
month.
David.
So we have a motion and a
A
second.
second?
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes, thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, good luck. Keep us posted. I'm gonna do the abatements. Reclass.
Huh? But he left, so. Discussion by council vote or other action on abatement / supplementals, Ms. St. George?
So first I have supplementals in the amount of $218,445.50.
So most of these were under-assessed, or many of these were under-assessed? And you reassess them, is that how we get this number?
Well, several of them, the majority of it is the iron mine property. The others were prorations for new construction.
Okay.
One is just, it's a wash, was in the wrong name, so I'm abating it and supplemental billing it. So you'll see that on the abatement list. And then that's it.
Okay.
So that property, has that bill gone out?
It hasn't gone yet. You just, once you approve it, then
Then you'll send
I
it?
did send a certified letter and I did receive it, but they didn't come in or call.
Okay.
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 I'll make a motion to approve the supplemental real estate and tangible taxes in the amount of $218,445.50.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. And the
Okay.
abatements?
Next, I have abatements in the amount of $13,332.17.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you explain to us system error exemption amount incorrect? So system on our system or the state system?
So when we entered into the system, the new exemption for tangibles, the ones on this list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 were missed for the exemption.
Okay.
And not only 2 got the maximum of it.
Okay, so what have we done to prevent that system error again?
So I reached out to our Tax 2.0 Vision Government Solutions, asked them why. They said they couldn't explain it. So going forward, before I'm certifying, I'm gonna cross-check all of our tangibles accounts and our new accounts, make sure they have the exemption. So run 2 reports and cross-check them.
Yeah, that's a good idea, definitely. As a matter of, general practice, I think that's a good idea anyway. I wouldn't rely on anyone's other data input to be accurate,
Yeah, I run a lot of reports before I certify, so it just was new this year and.
So how were these found?
So one of them, I believe I came across 2, because they called requesting the bill, and then when I looked at it, I noticed it wasn't there, so I ran a report, and I reached out to them, and I talked to Tony about it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the abatements for real estate, motor vehicle, and personal property in the amount of $13,332.17.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Discussion by council vote or other action on installation by Narragansett Electric / Rhode Island Energy Verizon pole location, Iron Mine Hill Road, Department of Public Works. Mr. Pendergast?
Ray Pendergast, Director of Public Works. You have in front of you a request from Rhode Island Energy to install one telephone pole in the area of 630 Iron Mine Hill Road. If you can approve that, and I can have that filed with the clerk.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'm assuming this is one of those formality things like we always.
Yes.
Okay, so then I'll make a motion to approve the installation by Narragansett Electric RI Energy Verizon pole on Iron Mine Hill Road as reviewed by the Parks, Highway Public Works Director. Sorry, it's getting late. It's getting late. The Director of Public Works.
The Director
Whew,
of Public
need more
Works.
coffee.
Okay, I'll second the
Meeting's run
motion
late.
to approve the Narragansett Electric Rhode Island Energy Verizon.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Osier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. You might as well do the next one. Discussion by council vote or other action on reservation reclass for Parks and Rec software.
So we presently have a Parks and Rec facility maintenance reserve line that we've been doing upgrades to all our facilities. But I have a request from my coordinator to purchase for $4,800 some software for our Parks and Recreation division. And that software would be for all our programs that we run, as an example, beach volleyball, tennis. We're looking to take over the basketball program that Wide World of Sports took over last year, so now we have a lot of parents that are interested in that. This is a program that she's done a lot of research on. It's presently, Lincoln uses it. So for that amount of money, we'd like to purchase that, but I need a reclass. I guess Tony can answer this a little better than I can. I guess we got to reclassify this $4,800 out of this facility reserve line so we can do this purchase. Does that sound?
Yeah, it's just that the category or the verbiage that it's under right now isn't specific enough to say that we can use it for tax software, so just to make things clear, we want to move it to, we want to repurpose it more clearly so that he can use it without any discrepancies.
And then we would go through the regular protocols of getting prices. And
Yeah, we already got prices and everything. We already chose the vendor. They had already came to you about all this. Chose the vendor and everything. We just wanted to, we knew we were going to use reserves for it, but now that we're at this point, we just need to make sure all our I's and T's are dotted and crossed.
It's getting
next
late.
meeting.
Yeah, vice versa.
I think these are done.
What'd you say?
Next meeting. I don't think we're doing anything tonight,
Oh,
right?
no, no.
Yeah.
So we're just
Are you looking for a vote tonight?
approving the reclassification.
Just the reclass.
Oh, okay. You made it sound like we needed to do more. Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the reclass from the original reservation account to Parks and Recs facility maintenance, account number 101-30100, in the amount of $4,800 for Parks and Rec software.
I'll second.
We have a motion, and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion by council vote or other action on Smithfield High School approval payment for new gymnasium floor. Mr. CP, he was here, but it was just basically last time we received these, I don't think we had signatures, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I had told, well, all of the school that just like you guys had communicated to them that going forward for anything that they need to have someone here who's familiar with the projects.
Mhm.
So, Mr.
Okay.
CP was here earlier.
Yeah, we did speak to them. Thank you.
Okay.
So pending no further discussion, I'll make a motion to approve, we're doing the gym floor, the payment for the new gymnasium floor as reviewed by the school committee and Mr. CP.
Second?
We have a motion, and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
Is the amount?
And the amount, for the amount due of $218,360. Thanks.
Good job.
And the
Discussion.
electrical generator?
Discussion?
Do you want to do the generator also?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Discussion by council vote or other action on Smithfield Elementary School approval of payment for generator project. And this is another one too that was not signed previously, right?
I'll make a motion to approve the NSCS generator project payment in the amount of $44,292.
Second?
And that's approved by the school committee.
Yep, as approved and reviewed.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Discussion by council vote or other action on town council procedure/protocols. Mrs. O'Hara and Mr. Biragad.
All right, as of late, as of late, the time for good and welfare has been inconsistent. Some could go on, and others were kind of cut short, as is very evident. Others should not have come under good and welfare. It should have been on the agenda. They were presenting something they wanted to do, or something that happened. There were slides to the whole thing. So when it comes through the office, I don't know exactly how that will come about, but it should, because they're not being presented at the right time. And then another thing that worries me, whatever is said under good and welfare, okay, private session should be kept there. And when people come to me and tell me what's going on, there's something wrong.
I don't think you mean good and welfare, right?
Not good and welfare, closed session, I'm sorry. It seems like it's like midnight. It's not right. The practice is, what goes on in there stays in there, and there's a reason why. It should be like that. But it is not. And we've got to keep an eye on it, because I truly feel that it affected several cases that were presented with the trust. That information was let out, and information on possible buying open land for open spaces, and where we're still, going over things and how much we'd like to walk, et cetera, and other people knew exactly what was going on. So if it's just an oversight, I want people to look into themselves about it, because it's not right. If that practice was put there, it was for a reason. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up, Mrs. O'Hara, because some of the executive session things that are coming out in the public are in the newspaper, so it's telling you who's saying it. So, you know, I don't think there's any misconception on where it's going. So, and if we're talking about open forum, if you want to literally go up there and stop someone from speaking for the last 2 seconds of what they need to say.
Oh, it's no last 2 seconds.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to cut someone off when they just want to finish something. So,
That's fine, we just put it across the board, I just wouldn't put it there anymore.
okay. Is
Thank
that,
you.
is
That's
that
all I
it?
have to say, thank you.
All right. Discussion by council vote or other action on appointments of town boards and committees. Asset Management Commission, one appointment for the completion of a term ending 12/1/2026.
Oh.
And you actually have someone in your packet, if anyone would like to.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application to the asset management of Louis Macarone. He's also a State of Rhode Island DOT employee, project manager, and he would like to eventually get on, I think, it looks like Parks and Rec at some point, but Asset Commission while waiting to do that. So he's interested in a couple of things. I think it's great. He's got a great resume, and it'd be terrific to have him on board.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So we'll move up open forum pursuant to 42-46-6D, maximum 3 minutes per person. We'll move that up prior to going into executive session. Does anyone want to speak? Anyone like to speak? No? One more time, anyone? Okay. All right, so executive session, discussion by council vote or other action regarding Rhode Island General Law 42-46-5A5. Any discussions or considerations related to the acquisition or lease of real property for public purposes or of the disposition of publicly held property wherein advanced public information would be detrimental to the interests of the public. Considerations related to the acquisition of real property for public purposes, parcel 1. Consideration of the disposition of publicly held property. Considerations related to the acquisition of real property for public purposes, parcel 2. Discussion by council vote or other action regarding Rhode Island General Law 42-46-5A2, sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation, or work sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation or potential litigation. Consideration of amendment to Town of North Smithfield and International Brotherhood of Police Officers Local 410 collective bargaining agreement, July 1st, 2022 to July 30th, 2025.
Madam President, I'll make a motion that we move into executive session.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Do we want to extend?
I was going to say, after we do this, I'll make a motion
Okay.
to extend.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms.
Yes.
And then I'll make a motion to extend the meeting by 1 hour.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll call?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
Thank you.